What are some unethical life hacks? NSW. Gain access to any event by putting on a chef coat, carrying 2 lobsters, and walking briskly. If you want to sound sick when calling into your work, lie on your back while hanging your head over the edge of the bed. You will sound congested. If your boss calls you in on your day off, tell him you've been drinking. Boss can't fault you for not coming in. Doesn't give the best impression if you work morning shifts though. Always book your hotel room with the prefix of doctor. When the morning crew pre-assigns rooms for that day's arrivals, they are likely to put you in a nicer room to avoid an unhappy pretentious doctor bitching about being next to the elevator. Also, if you call a hotel and they are booked for the weekend, just call back later and book your arrival day on Thursday with a departure day of Tuesday. Hotel reservation systems are designed to turn away 2-night stays in favor of 3, 4 or 5-night stays. So just call the hotel back later and make the adjustments to your current reservation for just the days that you want. Make your arrangements directly with the hotel when possible to avoid any robotic responses from a central reservations department. Former general manager. Download the crappy watermarked low-res image that iStock gives for free. Upload that in Google's image-based search and find many people hosting the high-res. Last time I was looking for a job, I posted a fake ad for a very similar position on Craigslist so I could check out the resumes of my competition. Extra unethical bonus, you can also use their contact information to get rid of them accidentally. Want to steal something in a secure building? Buy a wheelchair and put crap in your lap. The cardboard boxes for paper reams work well and can be gotten for free. Roll up to the door behind someone and they'll hold the door for you. No need for a key card. Taking advantage of people's good side is very reliable. Not everyone is stupid, but people feel bad for the disadvantaged. There's clothing that allows you to do virtually everything. Want to do graffiti? Wear one of those white paperish overalls. Steal a street sin? Carry a toolbox. Dress like a mechanic and you're good to go. Dress up like a technician. Walk into an office. Tell somebody you were told to take that PC. You can just walk out with it. Never underestimate how little people question the uniform. Yes. Also, fluorescent safety vests will get you into pretty much anywhere. Respect the vest. Hampton Inn hotels have a 100% money back guarantee policy. If you aren't happy for any reason at all, they are required to comp your room. You can do this nearly as often as you like. I work for one and we regularly have the same people complain about things, like the room was too cold, or the fan was loud, and we have to comp them. One woman has like 183 rooms complaints on her profile, but we still have to comp her. The only way around this is for the hotel owner to set up a review of the incident on a per case basis with Hilton. It's easier just to comp the room and move on. Hilton pays the hotel back anyway. I figure if you wanted to you could travel across the US getting free stays. Our teacher asked the entire class to keep bidding higher on his eBay item he was selling. So it looked like there were a lot of people bidding on it and there was a lot of interest on it. Once someone not from the class had bid higher, we all stopped bidding. The non-class member was usually the only other person to bid, so they got ripped off. Worked like a charm. The teacher would pay us back if one of our bids won. My dad would keep an orange vest and an orange flag in his car when we would go to sporting events. After the game, when the lot was full of angry drunk drivers, even getting someone to let you in was a real pain in the butt. My dad would have me or my brother jump out with the vest and flag and stop traffic, so he could get in the line. But then we would jump back in the car. Most of the time, people were not even mad and would laugh. Me and a couple of friends bypass our uni print queue and pay system by using the printer's IP address to print straight to it, rather than using the print release terminals. Cram a piece of wadded up paper towel in the change return of a vending machine, as high up as you can get it without losing it entirely. Once a day, come back and give it a little tap to send all the change it has collected tumbling to the bottom and into your hands. Repeat. I've found that if someone has pinned you in some sort of wrestling move, quickly and repeatedly yelling "I've got to boner" always loosened it. Hotel concierge services are for everyone. In any city in the world, just walk into an international chain hotel and ask away. Ask for directions. Have them make restaurant reservations for you. Get general advice. You can also store luggage for free at many hotels. Most places will just give you a claim ticket for your luggage and, especially if it's a bigger hotel, won't ask for a room number. If either the concierge or bell staff ask for a room number, just say that you're checking in later with a friend. Her name is Kate, but the reservation might be under her husband's name. You're meeting him for the first time and OMG, this is so embarrassing, I can't remember his name. My wife and I drink unsweetened tea. Not for any noble health reasons. We just like it. It's about 50/50 at the MCD's drive-thru if we will actually get unsweetened tea. They often freak up and give us sweet tea. One day they gave my wife sweet tea. It was the second or third time in a row it had happened and it pissed her off, so she emailed the owner of the franchise. Not being great at complaining, she wanted it to sound dramatic, so she said that the tea was for her husband. It wasn't. And that I am diabetic. I'm not. And that sweet tea could kill me. They sent us a bunch of coupons for free desserts. Well played, McDonald's. Want to sit alone on a bus? Wear a face mask. Or just smile at people and awkwardly gesture for them to sit next to you. As part of the employee training at Target, they teach you that if a customer argues over a price, and the full price is under $20, to just give it to them for whatever price they claim. It's cheaper for the company to move on to the next customer than to call in a price check. When meeting someone, tell them you are twice as far away from them as you actually are, and are willing to meet halfway, that is, a block away from where you currently are. Downloading LimeWire Pro through LimeWire. Add a NSW tag to your Reddit post to get people interested. If you're doing something you shouldn't, confidence is key. You can just walk out of a store holding what you stole and be fine if you know how to act, and have a basic knowledge of how the store works. Bonus: trespass with an orange safety jacket. Nobody questions the orange safety jacket. This type of thing happened at the local country club. Two guys walked in dressed as repairmen and just lifted a brand new 60-inch plasma off the wall and took it away. Nobody said anything because they thought they were supposed to be there. They got away clean. This trick has helped me pass a good majority of my college courses. Send out a mass email to the class the day before an exam saying I have just finished my study guide, and offer to swap it with other people. Never actually made a study guide. People would send me theirs and I would then send them each other's back. Win-win for everyone. Study guide Ponzi scheme. If someone wins an auction you have placed on eBay and then decides not to pay you for the item, make a fake eBay account and message the buyer telling them that you noticed they had won the item and that you would love to have it. Offer a reasonable amount more than they won the auction for. The idea is that they get greedy, decide to pay you after all for your item, and then you stiff them when they try to collect from your fake account. At this point I would use the fake account to mock them for falling for it all, and point out how they deserve it because only scumbags don't pay for auctions they have won. Don't call into work sick. Call in saying that you have family problems. That's the end of the discussion. Or explosive diarrhea. It's too embarrassing to lie about. The weirdest I've heard of is rich moms hiring handicapped people to go to Disney with them so they and their children can skip all the lines. Road cones. Road cones. Road cones. Need to hold a parking spot? Road cones in the target spot and the adjacent spots. No one challenges road cones. You've obviously not lived in New York City. Even legit road cones are thrown aside to park. I used to keep a cup from McDonald's in my car at all times, and whenever I was driving and wanted some soda I would just walk in any McDonald's and refill my cup. I did this for weeks. I saw H pull a used cup out of the trash and refill it. Say you've never orgasmed from FaceTime to make your partner try harder. I've never actually orgasmed by FaceTime, but I can confirm, this really does make them try harder. I read a story in private eye recently about a man who bought a first-class ticket for a plane flight. All first-class passengers got a complimentary breakfast in the airport's VIP lounge. He ate his breakfast, then, perfectly legally, changed the date of his flight online to the next morning. The next morning, he arrived at the airport, had his free breakfast, and, you guessed it, changed the date of his flight again. He got free breakfast every morning for about 9 months doing this. When the airline finally caught up with him, they were forced to concede that everything he had been doing was perfectly within the rules, but they reserved a right to refuse him service. They refunded his flight in full on the promise that he would never fly with them again. Use the self-checkout when buying fruits and vegetables. If you're in a crowd and need to get through, yell "I'm gonna puke." To dominate someone in conversation, stare at their forehead questionably. I would try the forehead thing, it's just that I'm just not sure what I would do once I was dominating the conversation. For college students, torrent your book's PDF rather than buying the textbook. If you have to bury a body, do it vertically. Satellites look for 6 feet long holes and marks them for investigation. Also, bury the body under a dead dog. Sniffer dogs will mark that spot, and when they dig it up and find the dog, they will mark it as a false positive and move on. I remember this being posted on Reddit before, and an ex-investigator chimed in to say that it is procedure to keep digging when they get a false positive. If you're flying somewhere and realize you have something that won't get by security, turn it into lost and found. Go pick it up when you return. When buying something on Craigslist, I use my spam email to lowball the seller by a lot. Then I use my regular email to give a reasonable offer that is still a good amount under the asking price. I almost always have my offer accepted. Another tip I learned from the Frugal subreddit is to search on Craigslist for moving and then go to the sale and lowball everything. Also, apparently if you go to college campuses during or after finals week, you'll be able to get tons of good free stuff because college kids moving out of dorm and throwing stuff away. Apparently many fridges are easy pickings, but never tried it myself. Flatulence works well for clearing crowds in front of famous paintings at art museums. Learned from an elderly lady in New York. You can take as many bottles through tsar as will fit in a quart-sized plastic bag. They are like $1.50 at the liquor store, compared to $7 on the plane, or even save them and refill at home for even cheaper. Ask the flight attendant for the whole can and a cup of ice. Make sure to mix them in your drink when the flight attendant isn't looking, as this is against FAA regulations. Put the empty minis back into your bag and not the seat pocket. Much cheaper buzz. I made the mistake of trying to discard the minis on the flight. She was not happy. Not sure about all chain theaters, but this is a sure bet at any AMC. After buying a ticket and walking past the concessions, head to any trash can. Stay with me here. Try to find an empty large soda cup and or popcorn bag. Take this to the counter and ask for a free refill. They will take the old bag cup and throw it out, thank God, and fill a new one, with refill repeating in bold around the rim. They do this to prevent people from getting more than one refill, but it's a surefire way to grab free food in a super expensive theater. Another life hack, don't let your date see you do it. The AMC I worked at gave unlimited refills on larges, and we definitely didn't give new cups. We only gave a new bag if it was ripped to a point where it would no longer contain popcorn. They inventory every single item in concessions to the point where you need to record every cup, bag, hot dog, etc. you need to throw away and damage it out. It's very awkward to say no. If you go to a fast food place for example and you simply lie and say that there was a Big Mac missing from your order during lunch rush and that your receipt got thrown away with your meal, they'll give you another one. McDonald's is very customer service driven. You can finish your Big Mac, take the empty wrapper to the counter, tell them it wasn't good, and they'll likely just give you another one. They're not in the business of alienating customers over a couple patties. Ronald's in the long game. He's got you for life. For married people, go out to eat. Out of town works best. Won't be recognized, and propose to your wife. Have her say yes enthusiastically. Get free dessert, possibly free meal. Anytime you ever go on vacation to a hotel or resort, it is your honeymoon. Don't order anything extra. Just let them know and act all lovey. They'll hook you up. For extra unethical excitement, tell them you're a veteran as well. Just got back from my actual honeymoon. In an email, I told the hotel it was our honeymoon and they upgraded our room from a queen standard room to a king suite, dropped $25 off the price, and brought up a free bottle of champagne. Want free admission to Six Flags? Tell them you are buying a season pass. but not staying in the park that day, they will ask for collateral, usually a credit or debit card. They will give you 30 minutes to come back, or they will charge your card the full price for admission. Walk into the park, walk around for a few minutes. When you leave the gate they stamp your hand with that awesome black light readable only re-entry stamp. Go get your collateral back from the ticket booth. Then you can walk right back up to the re-entry gate, show them your stamped hand, and voila, free park admission. Source, ex-employee of Six Flags, and have successfully done this numerous times at my local park, and the Hurricane Harbor across the street. Till if I ever own a store I should not install a self-checkout line. I lived in upstate NY with a friend for a year. We didn't know any people really. Test drove a truck to move a couch. When finished I like it but I have to discuss with the missus. I've got your card. Buy clothes at Goodwill and sell them to Plato's Closet. If you need a phone charger, go to a hotel and tell them you forgot your phone charger in the hotel. They'll pull out a box full of them. Take your pick. Work in a hotel. Can confirm they will pull out a box of old Nokia chargers. When I was going to college I would walk over to Whole Foods and get some of their most expensive grass-fed bone-in ribeye steaks from the meat counter. The butcher would wrap them up and slap a price tag on them. If I was getting meat for a barbecue this was sometimes upwards of $200. Then I would walk over to the bulk grains, put the meat on the scale, and hit print for something like oats. I'd cover the existing label on the meat with my much cheaper oats label, and proceed to self-checkout. It would ask you to scan the barcode, and then place the item in the basket. It would register the appropriate weight as both labels were from the weight of the meat. Then I'd pay 88 cents for 6 steaks and leave. I probably did this 25 times without arousing any suspicion. TLDR, cheap steaks. And I thought I was evil ringing up my Honey Crisp apples as red apples. I'd never have the guts to do this. What are your NSW or slightly illegal life hacks? Serious. My dad goes thrift shopping a lot. He always checks coat pockets for money. He has found Ray-Ban sunglasses and up to $50. College food court. Salad was weighed to determine price. Steak under a pile of salad is an expensive salad but a cheap steak. My grandfather used to stand in people's yards around state county fairs or the like with a sign that says parking $5 are probably like 5 cents back then, and have people pay him to park into random people's yards. He'd make enough money to go into the fair and have a good day. In 8th grade I lived in an apartment and I used to stick a wad of tissue paper up the vending machine change return, and every evening I'd reach up there and pull my day's loot of change down. I'd pocket about $7 per day. People just assumed the machine ate their change. I remember as a kid I was at a science fair at the university center in my town. I didn't get my change from buying a drink in the machine and reached up to see if it was stuck. Imagine my surprise when I felt some duct tape, pulled it off, and about $30 of change came out. Best of all, the arcade in the center was 3 feet away. That was a good day. If you think you're close to jizzing but want to carry on, subtly bite your tongue and the feeling will go away. Easiest way to prolong orgasm. Don't try this if you have a dong in your mouth. Those arcades that have a booth where you turn in the tickets to get crappy prizes like Chinese finger locks after spending $100 in quarters. They always have good prizes like mini fridges and handheld TVs, etc. that require like 10,000 more tickets than you have. All those tickets that people turn in are thrown away in a trash can behind the counter. When the trash can fills up, they throw the trash bag full of tickets in the dumpster out back. My friend somehow got a hold of a roll of Chuck E. Cheese tickets online. When his little brother had a birthday party he just added those to his tickets he earned and got the big prizes like a Nintendo DS and a game. Once got a lot of hate for posting this to our life pro tips, but it's definitely worked for me. Hotel lobbies are a great place to kill time if you need to wait for someone or something in a city. I live in Nick, and occasionally I've had to wait on a relative taking a bus into town, or someone is late for something, and then I just find a relatively swank hotel with a nice waiting area and a couch and sit there. It'll usually be about 20 minutes before anyone says anything, and if you need more time just say you're waiting for a friend who is staying at the hotel. I haven't done this, but a friend of mine did last year at Lollapalooza. He went around selling brownies to people for like 10 bucks each. The trick is, they were actually just brownies. That's not a trick. That is called exactly what is said on the tin. A general rule for all of the degenerates and delinquents out there: if you look like you know what you are doing, people likely won't ask questions. Of all the examples I have of this, the best is when I worked for a small-time tech company in town. We ran a giant mesh network that extended across town to multiple apartment complexes. A little while after I started, we had to rebuild the entire network. There were 3 of us driving around in a personal vehicle to different apartment complexes, running wires, cutting holes in the side of the building, getting on the roof and taking down equipment, putting up or altering existing equipment, etc. In all this time, not a single person questioned our motives. We seriously looked like we were setting up some major heist sometimes, because we would be out till 8 to 9 PM at some places. For the desperately broke homeless youth, I used to do this when I was a skate rat. All you needed was a hammer, a quarter, and an older vending machine. Hammer the quarter flatter and flatter till it's the size of a silver dollar, $1 coin, whatever. Old vending machines obviously don't have the greatest technology in them and can only read the now flatted coin's size as a silver dollar. Then hit the coin return. Your quarter just became 4 quarters. Repeat as much as you like. I turned .25 into $30 at one point. Now that I'm older and make good money, I wouldn't do this, but if anyone is ever desperately in need of money homeless, it definitely helps. I use a simpler method. Find a cinder block or brick laying around and flatten it against the glass pane of the vending machine. Eventually you will gain unlimited access. I delivered pizza last summer. If I ever got really hungry, I would accidentally pack in an order of breadsticks. Their breadsticks are so good. With my delivery, they are made and sat in a hot box for people to come in and order. There are usually 4-6 in at a time and no one questions if one goes missing or I take one on an order. If you didn't already guess, I would eat them on the way there and no one ever suspected a thing. Not heavily illegal, and I didn't think of this, but if you can speak 2 languages and need to write a quick paper, search up a paper covering that topic online in one language and then translate to your current language. Hard to be called out for plagiarism when the original paper is in a different language. This one is outdated due to obsolete technology, but here's what I used to do to get high quality movies for the price of a rental. Rent a VHS. Dub it onto a blank VHS cassette. Next, open the casing on both cassettes using a screwdriver, and simply swap the spools. Return the tape with the poorer quality dub to the video store, and keep the higher quality one for yourself. Thinking back on that was ridiculous. Blockbuster put stickers on their video cassettes to keep that from happening. If you break the seal to open the unit, you'll have to buy the tape. I had a boss a long time ago who told me that if his friends were going on a trip out of state country, he would give them his debit card to use. The friends would go and buy hotel rooms, food and other things. He then, towards the end of their trip, report his card missing. He can prove he was in the area all week. His friends get a free trip to Canada, and the bank refunds my boss all his money. Here you'd end up with a police investigation. Once they see your friends on CCTV, away to jail. Learn how to jack off with both hands. Trust me, it will help for the future. Arms crossed and palms around the shaft with both pinkies tickling the tip. Lots of lube and pump till you dump. If you work in an office, binder clips make great chip clips. Your company probably orders them by the thousand and won't notice if a handful go missing. Plus they come in different sizes. If you're not taking as many office supplies as you can possibly use from your job, you aren't a real American. Not really illegal but probably punishable. My university charges for printing with little devices next to the printer which release the print job to the printer. In order to circumvent this, I install the printers by their IP address as it goes straight to the printer and prints without having to pay. Doesn't take a lot of work, but I'd say it saved me at least $6. For the ladies, use coconut oil, a small amount, when you shave your bits. It'll be super soft, like can't keep my hand out in my pants soft, and it helps avoid any little cuts. Bonus, smells really good too. Always take a crap before leg day at the gym. I have one that my dad did back in college. More of a one-time life hack than anything. His professor basically spent all his free time writing and trying to sell to Hollywood a script for a movie. He was barely there during office hours. He was super disorganized when it came to the students, things like that. Come finals, and my dad slept through it. He slept through the final and was absolutely panicking. So he decided to play things a little underhanded. When grades were posted, and his was naturally not there, he went to the professor and said, "Sir, about my test score, I noticed that it wasn't posted." Technically true, although he didn't state the reason why the score wasn't there. The professor began looking through his notes and obviously didn't find the test. But the professor was so disorganized that he was convinced that he had lost the test. "Oh, yeah, you got a B+," he said, quickly jotting the grade down on the grade sheet. My dad got up, walked out, and never fricking looked back. Had a Spanish teacher like this. He'd be on his phone with his agent sometimes during class. His style of grading worked like this. You have 5 A's, 3 B's, 2 F's and 1 C. So you have an A for this class because you have more A's than anything else. Bulk bins at grocery store. Bag most expensive item. Write down code for least expensive item. Works best for nuts. Buy the shelled pistachios and write down the code for the in-shell pistachios. Use the self-checkout. Works 100% of the time usually because the person working the checkout computer for all checkout lanes is just staring into space. An off-duty cop in my town got caught shoplifting at the self-checkout. He was tearing a small hole in a 12-pack beer carton so he could scan the individual barcode on one of the cans. If you want a new game and don't really care about the case, you can do the following. Go and get one of those prepaid Visa cards. Load it up with say $100. Spend on it until you have about $4.05 left on it. Take the card to Redbox and select the title you want. Use the card to check it out. Enjoy your new title. They can't track down as it's basically a nameless card and isn't tied to you, so you're basically untraceable. Just remember to not put your email in. Always jack off before any hard decision. That's called a wisdom wank. 2 words. Chipotle napkins. Chipotle Tabasco sauce. If you want to stay in a particular hotel in an area, rather than using Priceline or one of the discount sites, call the actual hotel directly, then explain that you want to make a reservation and you're with the conference that's there that weekend so you need that group discount rate. When she asks what conference, just start talking about how your assistant didn't give you that information and you're looking for it, and just keep talking while you suggest that they just tell you which conferences are there. They'll start listing them, and you can pick one. One time, the only group rate was for a college reunion, and when I said, "Yeah, that one," the woman was surprised I wouldn't remember my own college name but still gave me the discount. Getting rooms for $75.90 instead of $200, $300 can be a huge money saver. In any major area, invariably there will be something going on every weekend if the hotel isn't a terrible one. I've been traveling for 2 decades with that trick and haven't yet had it not work. Got some type of traffic moving violation coming up and no attorney? Get a nice haircut, dress sharp, smile, and show up at least a half hour early for your court appearance. Find out where the prosecutor's office is and go in and identify yourself and ask them what is the best they can offer in the form of a lesser charge. Be as sincere as you can be. Many times they will offer you some type of a lesser charge than the original violation. This requires confidence, so look in the mirror before you leave home and give yourself a pep talk. Good luck. This works a lot of the time because most court systems are swamped with cases, and if they can quickly resolve a case for a lesser charge, it keeps things moving. It's a win-win deal. If you're a teacher, do all your grading in a bar. It's never failed to get me at least 1 or 2 free drinks. I'm a guy. When I was about 17 I started doing Kegels. About 2 months later I could stay hard after I'd come and keep going. Now 7 years later I can come 7/8 times in one sitting. I'm also much harder and maybe even a little thicker, but I'm not sure about that. It feels pretty good coming multiple times, although the last few are usually blanks, but still feel just as good. I bring my own snacks to the movies. I have never bought any produce besides bananas. By that I mean when I go to Meijer I only ever key in 4011 for the produce code. Organic produce costs the same as regular at the self-checkout. What life hacks have been exploited so much that they no longer work? Coupon code sites. Now they just link you to the sales already posted on websites. I have had success googling codes a few times recently. Got $3 off my $139 night ticket. After it went viral that the Toy Story characters would fall down on the ground at Disney World Land when you shouted, "Andy's coming," they stopped doing it. I wonder how many times Gaston has been challenged to do push-up and arm wrestling contests since the viral videos came out. I read something that a person could just order a bunch of $1 coins from the US Mint and you would just pay the face value, no shipping and handling, since they wanted to get more on the market. Well, one guy would buy thousands and thousands of dollars on his credit card and just pay his credit card bill with the dollar coins to rack in millions of airline miles. Pretty smart if you ask me. That could still work with other form of buying money, but it would cost something in the end, not zero cost. A certain BBQ chain had a birthday club that would send you a free item via email. The email was a Word document that was easily changeable, so instead of winning a brownie, you could change it to a huge party platter, as long as you had the correct code. I just stopped in to claim this birthday thing. Oh, I won a party platter? Great, I'm going to a party. It was Famous Dave's. Pressing 0 on an automated phone tree to speak to a live person. I've encountered many that will just replay the menu options if you press 0. I've also seen a few hanging up right after pressing 0 and a few more after a couple of 0 dialed. I remember in the early days of eBay you could search for misspellings of items you were interested in and most of the time you could get it for cheap. Once everyone caught onto this it was game over, and now eBay has vastly improved search functionality. Still, I'll never forget that screaming deal I got on that vacuum cleaner. I'll never forget my Star Wars phase. You can get Anakin figures surprisingly cheap. Ordering free carpet samples on Amazon for cat related crafts. I Google searched free carpet samples and had one company send 5 squares of different carpet free. Color swatches. Also one company sent 80, I believe. I'm a toddler teacher, not a sample hoarder. In some games that involved waiting some amount of time, you used to be able to change the clock in your device into the future and unlock the item whatever it is you were waiting for and then revert your time and still maintain the item. Unfortunately, now you have to wait. I guess the consensus is that Nintendo games still allow you to do this most of the time. I used to set the time forward 5 years and start a free 30-day trial for Adobe and Ms. Office programs, then set it back and have a free 5-year 30-day trial. But it's all cinched online now. Looking up unknown phone numbers online to see who is calling you. Now all you get are pay to see sites. Look it up on Facebook. If that person has their phone number in their account info they'll show up. The coin drop game at Taco Bell. I was very good at it and usually got myself a 25-cent burrito. I haven't seen one of those games in many moons. First they had water and bubbles. Then they drained them. Then they got rid of them. Our local pizza chain used to sell fundraiser stickers that let you do a buy one get one free deal. Everyone had one. But my dad soon found out that most of the restaurants never even asked for the sticker when you went to pick up your order. So he would always say to keep the sticker in your pocket unless they asked for it. Furthermore, if they did ask for the sticker, they never checked expiration date on them. We got so much free pizza that way. They have now switched to a loyalty card method that is required for checkout and expiration dates are stored in the computer. We had a local pizza place that sold a Groupon for a great deal on pizza, and you also got some wings and a 2-liter of soda. They never asked for our Groupon code, so we used the deal 3 or 4 times before our guild made us stop. I'm wondering if others did the same thing, because that place is now out of business. Calling the cable company to cancel to get a lower rate. It will still work but you have to commit to cutting the cable. They used to fold at the mention of leaving. One line that my old roommate used successfully with AT&T was to say, "Okay then, I'm going to cancel my service. Don't shut it off yet, though, because I don't want any interruptions in my service. I'm going to call Comcast and get that set up and then call you back to cancel my service once I have service from them up and running." Tricking parking garages. Used to be in the older days when you went into a pay parking garage, You got a ticket for your car. When you would leave, you put the ticket in the machine and it calculates how much you owe. They still do that. Thing is, in ye olden days, you could simply walk by the gate, get a new ticket, and then walk to your car and drive out using the new ticket, and the system thought you were only in there for like 30 seconds. These days they put weight sensors under the ticket area so they won't dispense a ticket unless there is actually a car sitting on top of it. Okay, it's a magnetic sensor, not a weight sensor. Point still stands. There is a sensor there to stop that kind of thing now. And apparently the UK reads license plates now. The vending machine in my apartment accepted dollar coins but would return it right back. So all I needed was a single coin and run it through the slot twice to get something, and would also get the change back from my $2. Did this a few times a month to check it was still working. Broken. I ended up just leaving the change behind for someone else to use. The machine, and surprisingly, has been turned off and is no longer serviced. I found a machine that did this, had a number on it to call if it needed service. I called and let them know. They were complete buttholes on the phone, just mean with an angry tone, questioning how much free product I took, etc. Frick em, ran it quite a few more times over the next couple days till the machine was removed. Applying to a crap ton of random scholarships that nobody else even applies to. Only need a handful of people, even at the local level, to take this advice, and suddenly there's real competition. And with sites like CapEx and FastWeb, there's more than a handful of people applying to every scholarship in the country. There was a gym by my university that was expensive, but since it was in Nicaragua was about the best one available at the time. I paid for the membership once, then realized they never checked your membership through the back door. Since the trainers all knew me by then, I stopped paying for the membership and just walked in through the back door and acted like I belonged. I did this for like 2 years before the place rebranded and changed ownership and added a check-in kiosk through the back door because I had shared my secret with a few too many people. But by then I had finished my career. Lol, my local IMCA had the same issue. I didn't get away with 2 years, but it was the better part of a year. Downloading a copy of college textbook, dang codes and CDS means you have to buy your own. I'm calling corporate. From soccer mom to global domination and beyond. Nowadays you have to tweet a video of something egregious just to get corporate's attention. Putting drugs up your butt when you cross the border because they won't check there. You just have to put them further up your butt. Not really a life hack, but one time my aunt bought a holiday special edition diamond ring. Retails at $200 for $10 at Goodwill. After finding out the worth online, my imbecile of an aunt went back to Goodwill to tell them what it was worth. Ever since then, they have been researching the value of their donations and have pricing them appropriately. Teacher, you forgot to give us homework. Being straightforward and asking to talk to the manager in order to get a job. That is not how it works anymore. The companies put your application through a computer, and if you don't set off too many of the algorithm's red flags, then a human will give you the time of day. Yes, my parents suggested this to me and my siblings for so long. They would even get angry if we sent online applications or emailed resumes, insisting that it was lazy, and all we had to do was show up and make a good impression. My dad finally cut it out when he got laid off and learned that walking in is more of an annoyance these days. Attempting to dress nicely, ask nicely, give presents to flight attendants to get free upgrades on planes. Using Dom for a free rental at Redbox. Using Motherload on my bank account. Thrift shopping. Back in college, we used to be able to go to a few local thrift stores, Goodwill, Salvation Army, etc., and find great deals. Allen Edmond dress shoes for $9.99. Gently worn dress shirts and pants for $3.05 each. Used to go probably 2x month and built up a pretty decent wardrobe for my internship's first job. Sometimes, we'd even find things with tags on them still. Now, after thrifting got popular, prices went up. Dress shoes are now around $15.20 and shirts pants are often $10.12 for questionable quality and often very dated styles. If you use coupons, you can often get better prices at Kohl's and other department stores than at thrift stores now. You can still find stuff if you're lucky. You gotta go to smaller gigs. where less people shop and where the people that work there don't know what's quality. Found a little church-run consignment shop right next to the hospital my mom used to work at. Snagged a $500 Italian merino wool coat for $10. Using coupons. They still save you money, but less than they used to, and it takes more work than it used to. Those couponing TV shows ruined it for everyone by making all the tricks and secrets way to public. Companies and stores are not in the business of losing money, and when it was a small number of people using coupons to an extreme amount, then it wasn't so bad for them. Now, a lot of people doing it make it that they start making coupons worth less and harder to use. Long ago in the US, filing for bankruptcy cleared student loan debt. This was since outlawed. Take out other loans and credit cards to pay off student loans. Declare bankruptcy, student loans paid, other debt gone. I don't actually think you can do this. I did learn some things for all these loans. When Lyft was starting in my area, they did this promotion where when you signed up you received 50 free rides. Well, during this time I discovered the Google phone app where you could create a new phone number linked to a Gmail account. I ended up having like 200 free rides. I took them to work, to my girlfriend's house, grocery store, you name it. My car wasn't touched for a month because I didn't need it. After those 3-4 weeks, Lyft caught on and banned me and my credit cards from the app. I can't even hail a Lyft ride when I give someone else my card to put into their account. Just tell your bank the card broke and get a new card number. Coupons. Kroger quit doubling them a few years ago and Meijer right after. That show helped. As a Canadian watching that show, it was mind-boggling the things US stores let you do. Canadian stores have much stricter coupon policies. Supposedly, Super Bowl Sunday used to be a great day to visit Disneyland. Now, it's one of the most crowded days in the off-season. Though I'm fairly certain that Disney created, or at the very least, published the Super Bowl myth to attract more crowds. Super Bowl is still one of the best nights to go out and do things. Skiing, restaurants that don't show the game, movies, etc. are all much less crowded. Collect calling someone but simply recording a message instead of having them accept the call. You have a collect call from, "Yo dude, come to Mike's house. Part I do you accept these charges?" Click. You have a collect call from, "We had a bye it's a boy." The real LPT. If you have a life tip, consider how effective it would be if more people started using it before you tell people about it. Understanding how to write up a resume so it would hit enough keywords to get past a computer and into a person's hands. Now you need to do this just to get into the large pile of resumes to be mined by computer. We were at the mall. We're sitting next to a group teens who I guess learned about the no salt on the fries thing so you get fresh ones. A girl had to wait for a new batch of fries while her friends were eating because she insisted on having no salt. As she waited, I sat and watched her pick out her friends' salted fries because they were fresh. If watching The Incredibles 300 times with my child taught me anything, it's that when everyone's super evil Jason Lee laugh, no one will be. A college degree is an example of that. Master's degrees are the new bachelor's degree. Feeding your homework to your dog. Shopping at Trader Joe's on the weekdays. 14-point commas. I've had multiple teachers and professors tell me they'll check from day one. It can work if you turn in the physical copy, but submitting it online will almost guarantee getting caught. I had free HBO for a decade from Comcast. Used to call them and say I was going to cancel service unless they give me HBO free for 6 months. I did that for so long that the last time I called, the guy read a note that was added to my account saying I've been getting HBO for free since 2009 and that I should be transferred to the canceling service folks if I ask for it again. Now I just watch HBO shows on 123 movies. Sorry that was my friend lol. Sorry that was my friend's dong lol. Talking to the manager was once an honest-hearted method of kindly discussing an advanced issue with someone in the chain of command who can make decisions. Now, it's just something that baby boomers immediately request when they want something. I've been a manager in restaurants before and it's insane how true this is. Like no, I'm not going to comp your entire meal that you ate more than half of just because you didn't like it. Using someone's first name several times after meeting them in conversation in order to get them to like and trust you more. It may now even have the opposite effect. It's still a good tactic, but as with everything, a lot of people overdo it. Once is enough. A few years back, if you left a cell phone charger at a hotel, you could go to the front desk and ask to see their box of lost and found chargers. I lost a cell phone charger in my room when I was here last time. Some hotels would bring out a box and you could go through it. Now, they all know that it's a profit center and high margin, so they sell cell phone chargers in the gift shop, and the box of free chargers is usually gone. I actually just used this a few weeks ago. I legit forgot my charger at home, went down to the front desk and told them they had one in lost and found, so I returned it when I was done for the next idiot that forgets it. Enlarging the period font size in your papers for college and maybe high school IDK. Now everything is Times New Roman, 12 point with double spaces and 1 margins. They're cracking down on that. Buying the original iPhone and activating the default contract which gave unlimited data, and keep it as a grandfather contract. What? Super couponers. If you consider their practice a life hack, my stepmother is one. Nowhere near TV level, but once those TV shows came out, all the companies that put out coupons rolled back on giving them out and made them super specific. Editing the formatting on a paper to make it longer. When word processing first came out, since not everyone knew you could do these things, there was exploitation of the formatting to extend certain non-obvious components of a paper, like the period at the end of a sentence. Now everybody has to take classes on these programs, and it's all known. Also, the people grading you on your papers are the ones who grew up with these tools. We know all the tricks. What improved your quality of life so much, you wish you did it sooner? Walking. After years of trying to run, I simply started walking. 5-7 miles a day in good weather. It is literally life-changing in terms of mental and physical health. That's great. I'll probably start doing the same. I love running, but it's starting to hurt the joints as I get older. I've heard that walking 3 miles burns more calories than running 1 mile, so I feel that this'll be my solution. Adopted my block. Adoptonablock.org. Instead of being sad about trash everywhere, I go out a couple times a week with a grabber and a bucket and just clean it up. Fresh air, a chance to connect with neighbors in a positive way, eyes on the street, neighborhood looks nicer and feels safer, zero downside. Adoptonablock might only be in Oregon, but a picker is like $20 for a good one. I recommend Arkmat brand. They're metal inside and last forever, and 5-gallon buckets are everywhere. Even if you only do the block around your house, it makes a huge difference. Imagine if every block got adopted. Swallowed my pride and got a blue-collar job. For almost 20 years I followed my mother's advice. Work inside so it's warm when it's cold outside and cool when it's warm outside. Now I deliver packages outside and the weather doesn't bother me. I have no boss on my shoulder and I can do my job however I want. It's quite freeing. Office jobs remind me of school and I hate sitting still. I feel most productive when I have real physical results in front of me. I have never actually had a corporate job, but it seems like monotonous heck. Taking a yearly vacation. My family never traveled growing up, so I didn't know what I was missing out on, but I have a good paying job with time off benefits and my wife and I have been taking a vacation every year since we got married. Even if it's just something simple, the time away from the usual day-to-day does wonders. Cpap Machine. If you snore at all, you owe it to yourself to get a sleep study and see what is going on. It literally changed my life getting one. I went from constant caffeine throughout the day just to function to feeling rested for the first time in years. Especially if you are overweight like I am. Your heart is stopping multiple times an hour as you struggle to breathe while snoring. It sucks getting used to the machine, especially if you have to wear the full face mask, but man, that first night of actual deep sleep will be life-changing. I cannot recommend it enough and I have convinced at least 5 people that I know to get one and they all say the same thing. Should have done it years ago. Quit my job and moved to the mountains. I realized I cared more about what I did with my free time than whatever work I did. So I got a job where my so and I wanted to live. We live in a cute mountain town now, and every day watching the sunrise at home gives me 1000% more happiness than anything ever in Illinois. Adapted my house. As a wheelchair user, it's tiny little things like being able to get under sinks that give you so much more independence and makes life that little bit easier. My father wasn't in a wheelchair user, but he had a wheelchair adapted house and it was nice. The layout was spacious and you could sit in a regular chair at the kitchen counter to chop your vegetables. I got what I jokingly call a nose job. Fixed a deviated septum and removed a lot of cysts. The ability to breathe, is amazing. When they removed the packing after the surgery, I was giddy. I mean, my wife and I were in a huge fight at the time and I was practically giggling during it. No more sinus infections, solid sleep at night, better sense of smell. It is freaking awesome. Quality work shoes boots. I would go buy the cheapest Walmart boots and they would be trash in a few months and I would constantly be sore. I now own multiple pairs of Carolina logging boots and it's incredible. I have a pair I bought in 2014 that are still waterproof. I need to get them resold and I bet I get another few years out of them. We should really start that with anyone entering the trades. Yes, it hurts to drop a couple hundred on great boots, but they last so much longer than cheap as they almost cover in the long run, plus saving your feet. A quality mattress, a quality chair, 30 minutes of exercise daily, eating at the same time daily, good hydration and 7-8 hours of sleep. I wish I knew thoughts were fleeting. Most of the several thousand a day aren't helpful. Learning to be in the moment and being more conscious. I have intrusive thoughts, anxiety, and being able to tell my brain to shut up is a big step. Good for you. I completely purged my closet and went Marie Kondo on it. The amount of anxiety that left me was palpable. Weird, but it was great. Daily face wash that has benzoyl peroxide in it. I somehow managed to go nearly 40 years with annoying acne and nobody, not one goddamned person in my life was like, oh hey, you use Dove soap on your face? Dude, that crap has no benzo. You gotta find one with the benz. That one sentence would have absolutely changed my teens, 20s, and early 30s. Haven't had a pimple in years now. Having my feet repaired. Pro-life tip. If you think a toe is broken, seek medical attention and have it x-rayed. Don't make the mistake of simply taping neighboring toes together, assuming that's all the doctor could do. Anyway, I made this mistake when I was 19. 21 years later and I am still paying for it. Doctors have advised that it is too FK to rebreak and reset. I have broken many bones, but this toe injury is the one that always catches me when I am on a hike, run, on the golf course, even playing with my kids. Frick that toe. Doctor visits, glasses purchased, crippling OCD managed, sleep apnea found and treated, teeth fixed. I'm a new person. I feel better now than I did in my 20s. Don't sleep on getting a good general practitioner, doing routine visits, and coming to them with problems. Cries an American. Seeing a dermatologist for my psoriasis. In February I started MTX therapy, methotrexate and folic acid, and 3 months later I was 90% psoriasis free. At this moment, 9 months later, I am 98% psoriasis free. After a couple years having bad dermatitis on my hands, I finally went to a dermatologist. Turns out literally all I needed was a stronger steroid than the GP could prescribe, and a good hand cream. Dermatitis cleared up in about a month. Quit drinking. Everything else came with that. Early mornings, exercise, weight loss, rebuilding relationships, remembering everything, always, able to conceive. Our first baby is due this Christmas. I'm just happy. Even on the bad days I'm still 100 times happier than on my best drunken days. I'm 3 weeks alcohol free of my 60-day goal. I am in love with my mornings now. I'm up by 6 AM. Lazy coffee then exercise. Learning how to set healthy boundaries and say no. Giving up on toxic people and removing them from my life. Not arguing with stupid. Walking 10,000 steps every day. Instead of commuting an hour each way every day, I filled that time with walking. Down from 225 to 170 since the start of the pandemic. Estrangement from toxic family. I hear ya. Cut off contact with my folks about 10 years ago. Coincidentally, managed to find a decent job and travel more afterwards without feeling guilty for living my own life. It only confirmed I've done the right thing when one of them sent me a message one day saying you're nothing without your family. I don't reply, but I'm everything without them. I set my own bar for success. Decent headphones. Not too expensive but better than the cheapest available ones. Sound is better and they don't break easily. Sennheiser FTW. Waking up earlier before work. Proper coffee and relaxation time is more important than another couple hours of nighttime gaming. I quit smoking. Same. I slip up every now and then, but each time I realize more and more how disgusting it tastes and smells. Got a dishwasher. Year passed. I had been using it incorrectly, so I assumed all dishwashers sucked and washing by hand were superior. Turns out it was user error. Making sure the tap is hot before starting the machine. Making sure the trap is clean and nozzles are not blocked. Putting 1 tablespoon of vinegar in each wash. And buying semi-decent dishwasher detergent made all the difference in the world. Now my dishes look just as good as if I had washed them by hand, and more importantly, I save upwards of 45 minutes each day after making dinner for 5 people. Going to the gym daily. Lost my fat butt in a year and I am now finally being the person I want to be. Or at least I look like him. Good job. A good, ergonomic chair. No more back pain. Working from home. I am unsure if I will ever take another office job. I mean, who knows? I am not going to let it get in the way of making a living. But if I have to look for a new job, I will actively be looking for WFH. Commutes stress me the frick out. I love being home to bake bread, make stock with scraps, vacuum in my break, eat from the fridge at lunch. Life is cheaper and more fulfilling for me working from home. I am happier. I sleep longer. I wake up and start my day stress free. Using a little stool to elevate my legs while pooping, almost like you were squatting. You don't even need to push that much. It's so much easier. Oh, and changing my bed pillow. Squatty potty spoiled me. I used to make fun of them. Now, I dislike using the toilet without one. Off-brand is fine too. Or a stool. Anything to sit your feet on. Electric toothbrush. I must have really sucked at brushing as I typically had a cavity every year or two. Now it's been 4 years cavity free and my teeth look great. I don't have dreams of crumbling teeth anymore. If you've never tried a water pick, you're gonna love it. Buying a pressure cooker. I went my entire life, up to my mid-20s, not knowing pressure cookers exist. My wife, then fiancée, told me to get one instead of waiting 8 hours for a slow cooker to do its job. Since then I can make most of the same meals in the pressure cooker as the slow cooker in a fraction of the time. Life changing to say the least. Need to know your go-to meals, my friend. I got one and I always forget to use it. I stopped negative self-talk. If I wouldn't say it to a friend, I don't say it to myself. My confidence has shot through the roof. I heard a tip that when you're trying to stop negative self-talk, you should make it sound like a chipmunk voice in your head so that it's easier to discredit and dismiss. Changed my mindset from, do they like me? To, do I like them? You have to curate the people you keep around you as seriously as you choose that perfect movie for movie night. The people you spend the most time with are the people you will be the most like. If being around them makes you happy, then don't lose them. If you dislike them or don't trust them, let them go. Finding out I have generalized anxiety disorder and worrying and being stressed 24/7 isn't normal. Now on SSRI and I finally can feel how normal people feel. Agreed. Found out I was bipolar 2 years ago. Meds have improved my life 100% and now I can be happily stable. Late to this party but getting an ostomy. Some backstory: I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis at 19 years old after dealing with digestive issues for about 4 years. I tried everything. I changed my diet multiple times. Vegan, gluten-free, sugar-free, oil-free, paleo, keto, you name it, I tried it. I went through every available medication. Pills, injectables, infusions, steroids, legit chemotherapy, homeopathic and natural remedies, Chinese herbs, acupuncture, dry brushing, colonic. Nothing came close to putting me in remission. The only relief I got was on high doses of prednisone that came with a whole set of its own terrible side effects. After 10 years of doing everything in my power and trying all available options, I was told that my large intestine had to go. And if we're being honest, I was so defeated that I said just take it. Little did I know that cutting out that bitchy colon would change my life entirely. I woke up from my total colectomy and cried. Not from pain, but because I immediately felt better. I was overwhelmed by how amazing I felt and a little saddened that I waited so long and suffered so much for nothing. So many people can't even fathom living with an ostomy bag, but I wasn't and wouldn't be living without it. I am happier and healthier than ever. My friends and family can't keep up with my energy. I can eat again, and I am no longer pumping my body full of literal poison just to try and stay alive. So, I guess long story short, my ileostomy is the best thing that ever happened to me and I wish someone would have told me at 19 to just do it. I lost so many years trapped in my bathroom, dying, and now I get to truly live. So I will spend every single day making up for lost time. This may be a weird one, but I started purchasing nice, fitted clothing in a wide variety of colors. A while ago I lost about 20-ish pounds and noticed most of my clothing didn't fit anymore and basically, all my clothing was navy, grey, and black. Purchasing clothes that fit me and make me feel cute, in a lot of different fun colors just make me feel better. Setting aside a proper savings account. Of last year then this year, I began shoving money in my savings and now I've got a vacation fund. 1. Moving 2,000 miles away from my mother 25 years ago. 2. Buying a new home last year. We chose one with a floor plan that was better suited to our needs. Every time I left home it reminded me how damaging my relationship with my parents was to my mental health. I moved into an apartment on the other side of the country with a friend a few weeks ago and can finally be myself. A rolling walker. Who cares if I'm 30 and look like grandma? I can walk my dog. I can go to the store. I can go outside and walk to the park without being in pain and I have a seat whenever I need it. Plus the basket is super handy. Getting back on my ADHD meds after being off of them for 15 years. My brain freaking works again and I'm so mad I didn't do it 7 years earlier when I got insurance. Getting an ADHD diagnosis for me took way too long and way too much money to get a good psychiatrist, but it was worth it. Retirement. Should have done it much sooner. Blood pressure down. Lost weight. No longer stress out. Can now talk to people without wanting to kill them. Taking better care of my teeth. 1. I didn't know to angle my toothbrush into my gums and to not brush back and forth with an electric toothbrush but rather slowly, really slowly, drag the brush along the gum line. It's okay to brush back and forth on top. 2. As for flossing I had no idea you wanted to fit under both sides of tooth on the gums. I always thought flossing was just to get food out of your teeth. I switched dentist and my new hygienist explained all this to me for the first time at 33 years old. I've been brushing and flossing for 33 years wrong, and the brushing was wearing my gum lines down. Bacteria or gingivitis is linked with Alzheimer's increased risk, heart disease, and all other kinds of health issues. A simple 3-minute explanation changed my life forever. Drinking the recommended amount of water each day. I never drank water unless I was thirsty. I went and got a massage for my birthday in April and was told how beneficial it is to stay hydrated, and since then I've been a water freak. I'm 39. I see a fellow hydro homie. Keep on chugging. This is coming from a man who has a devouring mother. If anyone is in the same kind of boat I was, please do yourself the favor and leave the relationship or at least distance yourself to where you feel is good. My mother would verbally abuse me, telling me I'll never amount to anything or be anything in life like my deadbeat dad. She let my stepdad to die in the hospital and left him with nothing. It goes on, but the point is you're your own human being who deserves everything in life you want. And no matter who or what it is, don't let them stop you from being you and achieving greatness. I'm just a student in 10th grade, but I realized studying daily and deleting people from my life who are toxic towards me and my close ones are some things I should have done like 3 years ago. You're way ahead of the curve. Taking advantage of the nearby linear trail, nature trail, for daily walks. It's a great way to observe nature, get exercise, and meet new people. Dyed my hair purple and green. I'm physically disabled, and I thought I was okay with the stairs, until the stares down at my chair turned into grins as they look up at my hair. Total self-esteem changer. Redditors, what is the worst life hack you have ever tried, and have you ever tried one with terrible consequences? Tried that one that says putting tea bags on your eyes depuffs them when I was about 13. However, they did not specify black tea, so my dumbass uses an apple cinnamon tea. Cinnamon is a minor irritant, so I had red tea bag shaped rectangles around my eyes for a few hours. Similar, I had a cold sore on my lip, and read that tea bags would help it go away. So I put some moist black tea bags on my lip for like an hour. They stained the cold sore a very dark brown color. I am so pale I'm almost translucent. It was not good, and I couldn't leave the house for a while until it all washed off, which took many painful washings. My friend tried that thing going around on Facebook about microwaving your phone if you get water in it. I couldn't stop laughing long enough to be of any help to her. I can't believe so many people fell for this, especially since almost everyone knows putting metal in the microwave equals bad. Not so much a life hack as a really crappy home remedy, but about 15 years ago, I had gallstones really bad. I found some home remedy that said drinking a whole cup of olive oil straight up would grease them enough to make them pass right through with a little pop. I tried it, wishing for anything to ease the pain. 30 seconds later I puked to the point of dry heaving. Now I had gallstone pain and sore ribs, abs, and lower back, and my mouth tasted like I'd just puked a bucket of pee. I just went and laid down and cried. It's funny because if you have gallstones you are supposed to avoid eating fats and oils. The reason is that the gallbladder contains bile which is used to digest fat. So when your gut detects fat oil from food it triggers the gallbladder to contract and release bile into the gut. So if you have gallstones and or an inflamed gallbladder, that contraction hurts like heck. A cousin of mine nearly burnt his hand off and house down following some YouTube video to take a battery apart to get little batteries from inside. He was maybe a simple cousin. Broke a light bulb in the socket, did a quick Google search. Eventually I found someone had removed it using a potato cut in half. I basically ended up with grated potato everywhere. Hash brown time. Pinterest will tell you to chuck your toilet brush up into a drill motor and give her heck. Admittedly I've never tried this because I have zero interest in creating a crap tornado in my bathroom, but it's about the worst idea I've heard in a while. If you need a power drill to clean your toilet you may want to consider eating some vegetables and whole grains. Putting chapstick on your eyelids makes you high. I couldn't find chapstick so I went to the next best thing. A Tiger Balm. Extra strength pain relieving ointment. My god was I in pain. Never doing that again. As a teenager I read that olive oil is good for dry scalp. I put a ton of low quality, that is, smelly, olive oil in my hair. The smell didn't wash out for weeks. I did the same thing. It promised me glossy hair. I had to wrap my oil soaked hair in an old towel for 10 minutes, then shampoo. It took me about 4 separate shampoos before it stopped looking like a limp greasy mess. I tried the life hack where you turn your toaster sideways to easily make grilled cheese. Yeah, small fire happened and now the toaster has lived in my garden for about a year now. I remember reading on a thread that a teenage dude thought that spray-on bandage would be a good alternative when he didn't have condoms. Not even a man, and I'm cringing. I once saw a beauty hack that said you should hold your eyelash curler under the blow dryer for 10 seconds so your lashes curl more. I burned my eyelashes off. That was 7 years ago and I swear they've only just recently grown back completely. That sounds like a nightmare. I sometimes warm my eyelash curler up by sticking it in my bra for a few minutes while I do the rest of my face. It seems to work. My friend read somewhere that if you rubbed your own ball sweat on you, girls would be subconsciously attracted to you because of pheromones. I was intrigued but skeptical, so I decided to see how it worked for him. He did not get laid that day, but did achieve smelling like ball sweat all day at school. I never gave it a go. My ex heard that there was pheromones in pee that would attract females. He decided that more was better. He collected his pee for a few weeks and then decided to boil it down to a concentrate that he could use to pick up chicks. His parents weren't home so he got boiling. He boiled pee all day. He didn't open any windows or turn on any fans. I'm not really sure how, but the entire inside of the house was covered in stinky pee steam. Almost totaled off the house according to his dad. They had to redo the walls and the flooring. Once tried to use butter as tanning lotion. Melted a stick in a coffee mug and had a buddy of mine rub me down. I read it online while sitting by the pool. It didn't work at all. I tried that life hack where you use a lighter to pop dents out of ping pong balls. Well, it ended up catching on fire and I burned a hole in my Mills carpet. I tried to make my own fleshlight when I was younger by using body wash and a pillow folded up. The body wash had tons of those mini hard cleaning beads. Never again. Resulted in pain, a messy pillow, and had to shower again in my shame. I also cut a hole in a watermelon to have sex with it. It was cold and unpleasant. Had to throw the whole thing out. My father later asked me what happened to the watermelon. I didn't respond. Man, I know the feeling of being a frisky teenager. I used to shag the edge of my bed between mattress and the bit below and also poked a hole through a Pikachu toy. OMG, that toy was violated. I remember a long while back, someone on Reddit suggested wiping your butt standing up as a life hack. There were a number of people who chimed in and said this was the way they've always done it, and both sides were amazed that the other existed. But it seemed like everyone who tried it standing up for the first time thought it was awful and usually got crap on their balls. I read this one a few months ago on Reddit and I said out loud, WTF, some people stand up to wipe their butt. My wife was in the room and just looked blankly at me and said, how else would you do it? 3 words. Home bikini epilator. Using this tool correctly is actually just as awful as mishandling it. The DIY aspect does not improve anything. That sounds like it was about as much fun as the home bikini wax I tried. The paper ripped off the wax, and I was stuck with tacky, wax-like substance that took most of my skin off with it when I was finally able to remove it with a combination of rubbing alcohol and extremely abrasive exfoliators on a loofah. The whole if you want someone, date someone else to make them jealous. Yes, it worked. No, it was not great. It ended in ruin and I'll never think that way again. When I was a teenager I got impetigo. My mum read on some message board that you could get rid of it by scrubbing your face using vinegar. I tried to argue against it but she wouldn't listen and insisted on scrubbing the scabs away with this really rough flannel soaked in vinegar. The burning was like nothing I have experienced. Imagine somebody rubbing vinegar into an open wound. I went to the doctors the next day and she proudly told them that she had tried the vinegar thing and they looked at her with a look of horror and were like, yay, that's not something we would advise. I got impetigo when I was in 2nd grade. It was horrible, and I feel awful for you. If you use peanut butter to get gum out of a kid's hair, now you have to find something that will remove the peanut butter or they will smell like a PBJ for a week. My dad used mineral oil. That worked better than anything else. There's one that comes up on Pinterest a bunch. It suggests using sticky hooks in the inside of a cabinet to hold up lids to your pans. Mother fricking glue came unstuck and the lid fell on my GD toe. Broke the sucker too. I love how you censored goddamn down to GD but left sucker as is. Heard via radio show that you can use bleach when you hand wash dishes to make them cleaner. Read the back of my dish soap. Didn't see any warnings, so I dumped a cap full of bleach in my soapy dishwater. The smell was awful and I started getting lightheaded. Unplugged the sink, vented the apartment and went outside for a while. Found out later that I had made chlorine gas. Looked up what went wrong. Turns out there's a big difference between adding bleach to dishwater and rinsing dishes with bleach water. Took me longer than I'm willing to admit to realize you didn't have some kind of fancy electric sink. I wanted lighter hair for summer and used lemons for it when I was 13 about 7 years ago. Bad move. Hair was dry. Staying on the hair theme, I put banana in my hair because 17 magazine said it would leave it soft and silky when I was 15. Well, guess ranking what? It was impossible to wash out and I had to pick banana clumps out of my quacking hair for flippin' 3 weeks. I had rotten banana in my hair. Lesson of this girl's lifetime. Don't listen to 17 magazine's life hacks. Bunch of teddy pickers. I read that egg wash was great for your hair. Cracked an egg on my head in the shower. Rinsed with hot water. Yep. I had to pick cooked eggs out of my hair. Not fun. You would think I had learned my lesson. Nope. Heard beer was great for your hair. Again in a hot shower. Poured some over my head. Got transdermally drunk in shower. Fun times. Opening a bottle of wine with a screwdriver when I didn't have a corkscrew. Shattered the neck of the bottle. Sliced open my hand and needed stitches. And I'll take dumbass. Drunk decisions for $800. Alex. It is strange. Screwdriver and screw and pliers was my way to open anything with a cork for several years. Never had any problems with that. I followed the advice of a Russian life hacker YouTube video to make an air conditioner with dry ice and fans. I didn't realize that this creates carbon dioxide, which is highly poisonous. It was so hot out I wanted the air conditioner to keep my dog cool while I was out of the house. I never got another dog after him. He died because I was a gullible idiot, and if he hadn't have died then I probably would have by using it. The only comfort is that it was painless. You really can't trust stuff you just find on the internet. Just for clarification, C02 isn't poisonous. It just displaces the air in the room, causing suffocation. A light bulb broke in my ceiling light, and I read you can get one out by sticking in a carrot and unscrewing what was left of the bulb. It got lodged into the bottom half of the shattered light bulb, and I had to call the super to get the carrot bulb out of the ceiling. I was worried we'd lose our deposit. Renting means you'll never get that deposit back anyway though. I used Chipotle hacks to get more burrito for my buck. The extra food isn't worth the weight gain and health problems that resulted. Go on. Iodine and baby oil hair removal. It is supposed to be like Nia. Didn't remove a single hair and stained my legs yellow. Read somewhere that leaving mayo in your hair for a little bit will help moisturize it. Didn't have mayo, but I had Miracle Whip and decided to leave it in overnight to let it really soak in. I could not get the smell out of my hair for a week. I also read that to make easy grilled cheese, put cheese slices on bread and into the toaster. Destroyed the toaster and almost burnt the house down. I am not a smart person. I once saw one that suggested, instead of buying expensive binoculars, just stand closer to what you wish to view. You know, stand closer to those birds. Climb right on down onto the field at a baseball game. Leap off the top of the Grand Canyon. What could go wrong? Walks closer to the moon. When I was around 15 I wanted to get high BC in high school at school, so with no way of getting weed I decided to try oregano like a lot of people say, but I didn't wanna smoke it because I would smell like oregano forever, so I decided to drink it. Water didn't drink the taste down, so I tried Coke then milk. For some reason I thought that was a good idea. I proceeded to vomit for 3 hours straight. Didn't get high. Mom thought I was dying. Lesson learned. Putting any of the following on my face are skincare from balls YouTubers who don't know crap but peddle to young impressionable girls. I was 13. Lemon juice, cinnamon and baking soda. I tried a life hack that said to put your toaster on its side to make cheese on toast easily. I literally set part of my kitchen on fire. My mum had to replace the work surfaces because I burned a hole in it. Freaking BuzzFeed. Tried the open a wine bottle with a shoe thing at 4 AM and 7 cops showed up at the door responding to a call of domestic violence. Heard that turmeric was good for the skin, so I made a homemade face mask with turmeric and yogurt. My face was yellow-orange for some hours, which I spent trying to clean it off. I tried sticking ice cubes in the brand new dryer because I heard it helped de-wrinkle. Didn't even get to see if it worked before my dad lost his crap when he found out why the dryer was making that noise. I've done this one numerous times. It works flawlessly for me. The shake the water off your hands thing so you can dry them with only one paper towel. Flung my wedding band down the drain on my first day of work. Luckily I got it back thanks to a speedy plumber. I tried to clean the blender after making a smoothie, so I put some boiling water and washing up liquid in it. I put the lid on, pressed the on button and the lid shot off. I got a face full of boiling water and went blind for a few minutes. Completely recovered now, but I haven't made a smoothie since. I say the freaking wet wipes, toilet paper hack that Reddit loves to jerk over. Real life pro tip, if the packaging says some crap like safe to flush up to 4 at a time or something, they're not freaking safe to flush. Go live in an old apartment where some neighbor of yours clogged the plumbing system and you had actual crap backing up out of multiple units in the complex, then come tell me how awesome of a hack it is. Have you heard of the one about putting cheese on a piece of bread, then turning your toaster sideways? That lit my toaster on fire. I had scorch marks on the bottom of my kitchen cabinet and no one noticed. Made okay grilled cheese with minimal effort though. Don't know if it's a life hack, but I took isolate and put it all over my sinuses, nose and eyelids to open up my nose during the flu. The burning. Oh god. The exquisite pain. I didn't do it, but I was looking up ways to stop sweating on my upper lip when I have makeup on. This moron suggested that you put salt and ice on the sweaty area to stop it. I'll just stick with sweaty upper lip. I tried the drinking diluted vinegar will help you lose weight. Ugh. Even diluted, the vinegar water was so acidic and awful I had heartburn for a few days afterward. A few years later, I saw this natural remedies list on my Mills bulletin board. A cure for heartburn was drinking diluted vinegar. I laughed so hard at that. Boiling milk in a kettle. A group of us were on holiday in a rented house and I did this for some hot chocolate. Everything seemed alright. It was good hot chocolate. Then the pungent smell hit the kitchen the next day. We didn't realize what had gone wrong at first. When we did, my ass was the butt of the joke for 6 months straight. Time's running out. Need to do these dishes, dress, and leave the house in 5 minutes. See the blender sitting there, all nasty with crap. Remember the life hack about the soap and water blending technique. Fill it up, put it on there. Didn't know you had to hold it down, and the soap and water went everywhere. On the table, on the food, in the toaster, everywhere. The neighbor kid drowned because after his dad accidentally dropped his fishing pole in the pond. In order to recover the pole, he let his dad weigh him down with cement bricks and stick a garden hose in his mouth to breathe through while he sunk down to get the pole. He was 15. What are some unethical and possibly illegal life hacks? My dad was a private investigator when I was a kid. 85% of his job consisted of just sitting in his truck waiting for someone to come out of somewhere. If there was no free parking available, he would just park wherever he wanted and then put 4 traffic cones around his truck. Eventually he even got a hard hat and one of those fluorescent vests construction workers wear and threw them in the bed of his truck to make it look like the truck belonged to a construction worker. He never once got a ticket. Need references for your job interview? Have a friend fake it. Just make it believable and don't pick something you shouldn't be doing. References are just people who don't know you calling people they don't know for information they can't confirm. If you're otherwise qualified, there's no reason it should be a barrier. My friend tried this once and used me as a reference. Ended up on a half-an-hour call with a third-party fact checker. The fact checker happened to be my neighbor's mom. My friend got the job, but it was a terrible experience all around. This one isn't really illegal, but if you go to Dunkin' Donuts about 30 minutes before closing time, they will give you all their leftover donuts if you ask. If you don't, they just throw them away. Sadly, all the ones by me are open 24 hours long, so I can't do unethical things now. This won't apply to all parking garages, but I used to park at one where, right before I paid my ticket at that vending machine type doohickey, I would walk back to the entrance gate, press the button for another ticket and pay instead with the new one. I would be charged according to my stay of 30 seconds, when in reality I had been there for hours. I went to a university where the student to parking ratio was extremely terrible. You would basically have to show up 2 hours before class, if you lived off campus, to get a parking spot. Personally, I lived on campus, so for me parking wasn't that bad unless I left the campus before 5 PM. So every time I walked to my car later in the day, I noticed that a parking spot right in the front, prime piece of parking, always had an orange cone on it. There was nothing wrong with it, it just had an orange cone. Later that semester I had to go get something out of my car in the morning and see a guy drive up to the cone spot, get out of his car, put the cone in the trunk, and proceed to park. Turns out this guy has been doing this for months, using the cone to reserve his spot. Apparently no one ever questions or moves the cone when he places it back on the parking spot when he leaves. TLD, DR guy used an orange cone to reserve prime parking spot. No one ever questioned it. At a Redbox, put in the promotion code Redbox. Brick room or break room. Most places get one free movie a day for their break room for having the machine on site and don't utilize this. If nobody has used that code within 24 hours, it's your free. If your lie embarrasses yourself, people are more likely to believe it. Cindy thinks you ate the last cookie. You couldn't have because you had awful diarrhea. The key is to be as hesitant to give this excuse as you can be. I could have sworn I had one more cookie. Cindy, I've been crapping all day. In my experience, a Pizza Hut or other pizza company hat, shirt and bag will get you more places than the uniform of say a cop or armed courier, because nobody would impersonate a pizza guy, but would impersonate a cop. Also not illegal to impersonate a pizza guy, definitely illegal to impersonate a cop. Was just talking to my wife, who sells cars, tonight. Learned that you can roll negative equity from a previous car into a lease, total your new car, and only be on the hook for your insurance premium. So here's an unethical illegal example of the above. Own a car that is only worth $15,000, but for which you owe $25,000. You have $10,000 negative equity in your car. Lease a new car and roll in your negative equity. The dealership will take your old car, pay the bank for your old car, and charge you some additional amount on your lease to make up for the $10K in negative equity you rolled in. Now drive off the lot and total the car. You will have to pay the deductible on your car insurance, typically $500, but you will be excused from your lease, which means you were able to unload $10K worth of debt for $500. This is an example of insurance fraud. By adding a random one-way third leg onto a round-trip flight, you can sometimes fool the airline into dropping the fuel charges that usually add $300 $400 onto the ticket. It's called a fuel dump by frequent flyers. Buy an ebook on Amazon, turn it into a EPUB with Calibre, which creates another copy, then return the book. I've only ever used this for university textbooks. Those guys deserve it for the prices they put up. If you create a live Linux USB stick, you can boot from that and access any unencrypted files on any machine running Windows 7 or earlier. If you have physical access to an unencrypted machine, you can almost always access its files. Can be done easily for Windows, Linux, and OS X. I'm not sure about the less common ones like BSD though. This is not illegal and is only slightly unethical. Whenever I see a 1-800 number on a product, I call the number and make some sort of complaint. I like to show that I like the company I am calling, but that the product I have wasn't satisfactory. I don't ask for anything. I just want to complain so that they can get better at their jobs. This works even better as the complaint is real. Usually, at the end of the call, they ask you to provide your name and address. I always give a fake name, fake phone number and fake email, but my real address. I've received tons of free stuff, coupons, letters of thanks, and sometimes I will get a check for the value of the product as a refund. This also works sometimes if you try the opposite. You call the 1-800 number and start praising them, saying how much you love their product and that you will be a client for life. You can use an empty Visa Rewards bank card to make in-flight purchases. The cards cannot be run while in flight, so all transactions are completed once you land. So you can receive any item you want for free. There is no way to track the failed transaction because your information is not tied to the card. My friend is a pilot and I have done this for years. But it could be tied to your seat number, which most likely is tied to your info. Holy crap. RIP inbox. Also, highest comment. Thanks all. If you dress up in a clown costume and walk through the McDonald's drive-thru, they'll give you all the money in the cash register if you're holding a gun. Asking for an answer on Reddit will often get you nothing, so mention the wrong answer, and you are almost guaranteed to get the right one, because people are more eager to prove others wrong than help a stranger. Bonus: when submitting OC, don't say you made it, say your wife girlfriend made it. Cunningham's Law. The best way to get the right answer on the internet is not to ask a question, it's to post the wrong answer. If you have to bury a body, bury it, then fill in the hole halfway, put in a dead animal, and fill the hole. When sniffer dogs find it, police will dig down and find the dog, call it a false alarm and keep going. Unethical and possibly illegal. This guy, if you have to bury a body. Some dude wrote a book about life hacks. His best one. Back when the gov was rolling out the new $1 Sacageur coin, you could buy them from a gov website and get them shipped tax-free to your house with no S&H charge. It was the gov way of encouraging circulation. So this guy uses a high yield mileage CC to buy about $5,000 worth every other day and simply takes them straight to the bank to deposit into his account. No money spent. Millions of free miles. Pressing 0 for a human, when the greeting has kindly asked you to listen to the entire message before pressing anything. If you swear a lot too, it can detect it occasionally and get you a human. Organic foods look a heck of a lot like regular foods at the self-checkout. New blender? Nope. Just a lot of Idaho potatoes. Sorry mom, I thought this PS4 was bananas. Want free lunch or even to make a few extra dollars and look like the office hero? When flyers for various restaurants come out, they often have buy one get one free coupons in them. Tell everyone in the workplace you are going to go to X to pick up lunch. Take orders and money for said orders. Use 2 for 1 coupons. Pocket the difference. When we were teens, we used to go to the movies on busy nights in large groups. 2 people would buy tickets, enter the theater. 1 person would head back outside with the 2 stubs and bring a 3rd person in. 3rd person would exit with both stubs and bring a 4th person in. We sometimes repeated this until we had over a dozen people in the theater for the price of 2 tickets. The ushers never saw the same face more than twice. We just opened the exit door to go directly outside for other people. When you have drugs on you, also carry a helium balloon with you at all times. If you get busted by the cops, attach the drugs to the balloon and let go. The police will not be able to find the drugs, and they probably will get fired for shooting at a balloon. Unless you use a black balloon. It's so stupid it might actually work. When applying for a job online, submit 2 or 3 fake resumes along with yours that are equally impressive. When you and the other candidates get called in, you will be the only one to show up for the interview. Also, you might want to submit them through different IPs or locations. Go to Walmart and get a 6-pack of IBC root beer. Take the bottles out and put whatever beer you want into it, as long as it's a brown bottle. Then go through the self-checkout. You get a 6-pack for $6-ish regardless of your age. Got a cracked windshield? Drive around on the highway for a bit and find a rock truck. Call the number on the back and tell them a rock flew out and broke your windshield. Sometimes they will pay for a replacement. I'm quite late, but I figured I'd share. My dad once told me this when I started to apply to jobs and colleges. If there is a list of things that are posted on the site of what you are applying for, copy and paste them into your application with white text. If it's run over by a computer, it will catch it and send it to the interviewers, getting you an instant interview. If all applications are looked over by people, it won't be seen at the bottom and won't matter to them. Photocopy the out of order signs at the computer lab so you can reserve one for yourself later if you have a problem with it being full. Disclaimer: I have never actually tried this. If a married person of the opposite sex is telling you the bad stuff about their spouse, you can bang them. This is actually so true it's unsettling. I've noticed that it only takes about 2 or 3 prompts, spread out temporally, to instill a false memory in someone. Struggling to write CV, or can't get a particular job? Post fake job offerings on websites such as Indeed Co. UK for that position you're interested in and watch the CV's resumes pour in, which you can then copy for your own advantage. Did this in college. Buy all your textbooks and keep the receipts. Return to the store later that day or a few days later. Most bookstores don't give 100% refunds after the first week. Grab the book you bought off the shelf. Take the book to the cashier and tell them you want to return it and show your receipt. If they require a reason, say you dropped the class or are sharing the book with a friend. Get money back and leave. Never paid for books and got money back on resale at the end of the term. Most cashiers they have, especially at the beginning of the term when you are buying books, are temporary student workers who don't give a crap most of the time. Holy crap, no way this works. If you're ever traveling and forget your cell charger cable, just go into any hotel and ask to check their lost and found. There will be a box full of cables. You may want to act like you stayed there previously. I tried this and they asked for my name and room number. If you're going to the movie theater, hide snacks in your pockets. Unless the theater explicitly bans food from the room, it's totally fine usually, and most employees don't get paid enough to care. Get caught and really want to be unethical if they tell you to throw it away. Just make up a condition that would require you to intake more food. Diabetics and hypoglycemics need sugar. I have a friend who did this a couple of times when he was broke and reasoned that some things just cost too dang much. We went to a store and he bought something that he needed, like printer ink or whatever. Later he goes back to the store with just the receipt, leaving the item he bought with me. He picks up a new one off the shelf and returns that at the register with some bogus explanation like it wasn't the right kind or whatever. So he gets the money back for an item that they never sold. It's basically a harder to spot form of shoplifting. I think this is the reason why some stores have their return places outside the entry. My friend is a sneaky and morally corrupt sob. Invent a social or political perspective made up mostly of lies but peppered with truthful or truthy insights. Network with at least a few people who believe you because they want to believe something. This is your A group. As your A group grows, you collect a B group of people who follow you because they can't believe how full of crap you are. Tell your A group that a bash at you is a bash at all of them, and that B group simply lacks the courage or genius to see the truth. TM. Make up clever nicknames for members of your B group. Watch both groups grow in proportion to each other. Sell some merch and find some sponsors. Now you're pundit. You can ring up anything at a self-checkout as bananas by entering the clue code 4011. As long as the weight is accounted for, the machine won't know if that's bananas, imported African coffee, or prime motherfucking rib. You'll still be paying 0.49 CLB. I do 94,011 for organic bananas. Costs a few cents more, but it's better for the environment. In Canada, if you chose the French option when calling any call center, it will put you through to someone who also speaks English, instead of the outsourced foreigners who can barely speak English. This is something I think most places wouldn't want you to know, as they have to pay a living wage for these workers. Want a free breakfast? Stop by a local hotel that offers free continental breakfast. Did it just this week. Orange juice was watered down, but they had a waffle maker. Need to return something to a retail store out of warranty? Buy the same thing. Swap out the old item in the new item box and return with your handy receipt. Naturally this won't work with items with a serial number like a PS4, but I haven't paid for hair clippers in like 4 years. You can go to college pretty much for free as a teenager if you run down to the courthouse with a friend and get a marriage certificate. You could even annul the marriage right after submitting your FAFSA. It knocks your parents' income off of your federal aid calculations, and as you're probably broke, you can then get plenty in grants. I jokingly tried to sell my girlfriend at the time on this. Her mother was not amused. In hindsight, that marriage probably would have fared better than my actual first marriage. People rarely question the guy in the big yellow fluorescent jacket, hard hat and or clipboard optional depending on circumstances. When someone says, "Have a nice day," don't say, "You too." Hoard everyone's nice days until you are immortal on nice days. Other people's nice days. If you want more than one glass of water but don't have any more water, just drink the first glass twice. Free batteries. I recently needed a battery for my thermometer. None of the stores around me sold the right battery and I didn't have time to wait on Amazon just to take my temperature. I bought a replacement thermometer, swapped batteries and then returned the new thermometer. How to actually deal with unwanted boners. Flex every muscle in your legs, especially your quads, for at least 30 seconds, as hard as you can. When you relax, blood will rush from the boner to your legs. Works every time. Can be done standing up, but works best when seated. A basic Wii is a game pirate's dream machine. With a few simple procedures, which you can find fairly well documented and thoroughly explained with a simple Google search, you can install the Homebrew channel on your Wii. Once that's done, you'll have access to loads of emulators, basically giving you infinite free access to the entire libraries of the NES, SNES, Genesis, Sega CD, Game Gear, Game Boy Color, GBA, and PS1, as well as being able to play pirated GameCube and Wii games. So add the complete libraries of both of those systems to that machine as well. If you're willing to invest in a reasonable large hard drive, say 2 terabytes or do, you can even go around with all of those games available to you at any time. Serious, what are some life-saving tips you think people need to know, and in what situation would they be used? When walking in Big 5 territory, if you encounter lions, don't run. If they come towards you, growling, it's to say you are too close, but they will not attack you. Just walk away slowly and don't lose sight of them, or stand your ground. Intelligence is your biggest weapon. Then shout and clap your hands and they will run away. Source: I'm Kruger Wildlife Guide, with more than 10 encounters with wild lions in the last year. Seriously, don't run. Also, lions are way faster. If you're being tied up, puff yourself out as much as possible so it'll be easier to wiggle out of. Tense muscles. Inhale deep and stretch out your arms and legs to make more space. That's what horses do to get a looser saddle strap on their belly. If you're performing CPR on someone who stopped breathing, heart has stopped, don't stop until EMTs take the body away. Don't stop after 2 minutes thinking, well, that didn't work. CPR typically won't cause the victim's heart to suddenly start and or for them to jerk awake. It's mostly to force blood circulation to prevent brain death. You're not forcing life into them, you're preserving a corpse to keep a revivable state. Tips for cold weather: dress in layers, holds heat in better. Stay dry. Protect your feet, hands, and face. If you plan on going long distances, have a plan to move on top of the snow and let people know where you are going. Never go on ice unless it is at least 4 inches thick. 6 inches if you have a snowmobile. 8 inches for a small car. 12 inches for medium trucks. Clear ice is stronger than snow ice. Always watch for signs of frostbite and hypothermia. Protecting your feet, keeping them dry, is huge in any survival situation. If a service dog comes to you for attention, immediately locate their owner. They could be using a last-ditch effort to get help. A few months ago, when I was on a delivery for work, I was stopped by a dog who ran out in the middle of the road. Residential. I got out and tried to move the dog, but it followed me all the way to the door of my delivery. Once I was done, I checked the dog's tag to bring it home, and I noticed he had all kinds of medical tags. After I realized what the dog was trying to do, I ran towards the correct address and the dog led me through a screen door on the porch. His owner was passed out on the floor, and I called 911. The individual had a phone, brought by the dog, by its head, and a bag of medications by his side. The dog had done everything it was trained to do, but the person had passed out before it could do anything. The ambulance came, got his pulse back, and took him to the hospital. I don't know if he ended up surviving, but if I hadn't checked the dog's tags and realized it was a medical animal, I wouldn't have hurried, blatantly invite myself in his house, and ultimately get him to a point of survival. Someone get this dog a steak. A person who is drowning doesn't look like people drowning on TV. When someone is drowning, they rarely cry out, can't wave their arms around, and will often just bob sink at the surface for a very little while, often gasping, before submerging. Don't expect it to look like the movies when you're keeping an eye on swimmers. In the US and I think some other Western countries, you can notify your Department of State that you are going overseas for free. I think it is the Smart Traveler program. This means in event of a natural disaster, political issue etc., they will know you need evacuation. They also update you on the state of the country as time goes by so you don't accidentally collide with some trouble. A lot of accidents happen just by being in the wrong place at the wrong time, so if you're traveling, it might be worth looking into. Also, embassies' consuls have emergency numbers they answer 24 hours a day. Save, on your phone, this phone number of your nearest embassy consul when abroad. If you get in many kinds of trouble, with the police, other legal issues, medical stuff, If you're a victim of a crime, lost your passport, etc., they can help you much more effectively than your family friends back home can. Do not pull objects, knife, glass, splinter etc. from a deep wound. They might be sealing or slowing flow from an artery, or they might cut an artery when you pull them out. Put pressure around such an object to slow bleeding till emergency responders take over. If it's in someone's eye, don't pull it out. Wrap it to secure if possible. Cover both eyes to minimize them trying to look around and cause damage. If someone is choking but they are coughing talking, do not intervene. Let them cough it out. The ability to cough is a sign that air is able to get in and out and that they only have a partial obstruction in their airway. If you try to intervene with the Heimlich or back blows, you could force it out, or you could dislodge the blockage and cause a full obstruction. Obviously, if they're not breathing or coughing, then you should definitely administer back blows. Just remember to check in between each one in case you partially dislodge the object. If you fall into water, don't panic. You don't have to be able to swim, you just have to float. Hold your breath and let yourself bob to the surface. If someone is in trouble in the water, they will absolutely kill you in the mindless panic. Bring something with you, a float, a rope, a towel, and use that to bridge the gap between you so you can tow the person in. If you must make direct contact, come up from behind and slip your arm across the victim's chest. Pull the victim's back to your chest and keep her arms facing away from you. I've been in the death grip of a fat little 8-year-old and he nearly took me out. If a panicked drowner does grab you, do everything in your power to go down toward the bottom. Most will let go. That's the last place they want to go. Recognize that even if you are both a strong swimmer and a trained rescuer, you are still risking your own life if you go to the aid of a swimmer in trouble. Take it very seriously. If you're stuck in a stampede, as soon as you get knocked down, your chances decrease significantly. If this is the case, however, and you can't get up immediately, assume a protective posture with your feet tucked up and your hands covering your head. Try to position your face in the direction the crowd is moving so you don't get kicked, and try to get back on your feet ASAP. This is by far one of my very worst fears. Holy crap, I can't imagine how scary that would be. I had a friend get lost and go down a logging road and get snowed in. She was reported missing for several days. When they found her, she'd managed to keep herself alive by packing the single water bottle she had with her with snow, placing it on the roof of her car, and waiting for it to melt. Then she'd drink and repeat. If she hadn't thought to do this, she'd be dead. She had frostbite on her toes, but after several weeks of physical therapy made a full recovery. I live near the Gulf of Mexico. At the end of one of our beaches, there is a waterway with a heinous rip current. There are signs everywhere, in many languages, warning people not to get in that water, to stay off the jetty. Every single year people drown there because they ignore those signs. I was there every day last week, and each time there were tourists climbing on the wet and slippery jetty despite the signs and the obviously wild water. My tip is for people to obey warning signs. They are there for a reason. I wonder if we put a death counter sign, or a days without an accident on this jetty sign, if people would get the message better. A few survival tips for mainly the desert, but also a lot of places. If you are lost in the desert, or a lot of places for that matter, the number one thing you can carry to increase your chances of being found is a small reflective mirror. Anytime a plane flies overhead, you can reflect light towards them and you greatly increase your chances of being found. This seriously is more important than carrying more water with you. Not that water doesn't help, it's just not realistic to carry that much water on your back. Furthermore, if you get stranded in the desert with a vehicle, do not leave your vehicle to find people. You are a lot harder to see than your vehicle, and your car can provide shelter. Your car has some good reflective mirrors to signal with, especially the rear view mirror. People die all the time doing this, often found only mere miles from their car. Finally, the universal sign for needing to be rescued is waving two arms up and down. If you wave only one arm to a passing plane, you will not be helped, or at least are less likely to be helped. Also, because a few people have been wondering what to do if you can't use both of your arms, there is another universal way to signal for help that is more versatile. The way I can best describe it is 3 of anything quick signal. 3 gunshots, 3 whistle blows, 3 flashes of a flashlight, 3 flashes from a reflective mirror, etc. Just make sure they are spaced widely enough, at least 1 second, and that you spend a considerable time before making your next 3 signals. There have been many deaths that could have been prevented had this advice been followed. I think if I was in a plane low enough to see a single person in the desert waving an arm in the middle of nowhere or next to a stopped vehicle, I would probably report it anyway. If you get caught in a rip current, swim horizontally parallel to the shore at the fastest speed you can comfortably maintain. Don't worry that you're going further out. Eventually you'll be out of the current and can slowly head back inland. Try to swim against it and you'll just tire yourself until you drown. Also, one of the ways to identify a rip current is to look out for gaps between the waves. The calmer gap between waves may look safer for you to play without worry about waves washing over your head or overtaking little Timmy, but a small patch of calm water in an otherwise choppy sea is often a rip current. Death from a rip current is completely avoidable. When you're making a turn across oncoming traffic, keep your wheels pointing straight ahead until the opportunity comes for you to make the turn. If your wheels are facing into the turn and someone hits you from behind, they will push you into the oncoming traffic and dead you will go. Finally something I can use. If you work around stuff that can cost someone easy, metal scrap, sheet metal, or really any factory or construction work, wear a belt. IDC if you don't need one to hold your pants up. A belt can be a quick easy tourniquet and save a life. Source: my belt saved a life. Also, always wear safety glasses and don't use gloves long sleeves around machine tools. If you find yourself hurt in a public place, direct your pleas to one person, not to the crowd, cause everyone will think somebody else will help you. It is called the bystander effect. One of the reasons in CPR first aid training they tell you to point someone out and say you call 911. If your car breaks down in a remote area cut off from civilization, stay with it. To draw attention, burn a tire during daylight. Somebody is likely to see the thick, black smoke. To add, if you are in a bad situation, your car does not matter anymore. It is just a thing. If you are freezing, then rip up your car's seats and wrap the foam around your feet and hands. Rip off your rearview mirror so you can signal rescuers. Been to a fair few places and the one that kept me from harm most is always be aware of your surroundings. Seems common sense, but you can't only imagine the number of people who might have escaped harm were they a little more attentive to the world around them. In any place, in any situation, focusing less on yourself and more on what's going on around you will keep you alive longer than just about anything. It's likely too late for anyone to see this, but hopefully this helps a few. Nuclear warfare is a serious threat that hasn't been mentioned yet. The following was common knowledge during the Cold War era, but most people my age don't know what to do in a nuclear disaster. In a nuclear explosion, most of the damage and death is caused by the shockwave the blast creates, not the fireball, which has a comparatively small radius. One day you may find yourself outside or looking out a window to see an extremely bright flash, as bright as if you were staring straight at the sun. Do not attempt to locate the source of the flash. You have maybe 8-10 seconds to respond if you're far enough away from the fireball. Lay face down on the ground and put your thumbs in your ears and fingers over your eyes. Breathe through your teeth. Since you're laying face down, the shockwave will mostly pass over you. If you're standing up, it can cause your lungs, eardrums, and other organs to explode. Once the shockwave passes over you, you need to find shelter immediately. I said before that most death from the explosion is caused by the shockwave. Well, far more death is subsequently caused by nuclear fallout after the blast. Do not attempt to travel anywhere. Just get underground. If you're next to a complete stranger's house or a business, don't hesitate to go inside and hide out under as much concrete and steel as possible. You need to remain in this location for the next 48 hours. This is critical. Even if you survive the blast, if you attempt to go home and spend just 20 minutes outside traveling, you will more than likely die of radiation sickness. Radioactive material after a blast decays exponentially, and you will be safe to try and find your loved ones after 48 hours. If you don't wait this out, you definitely won't be alive to find them. When you're ready, you need to leave the city and get as far from the fallout as you can. I haven't thought about this stuff for years. Interesting how it comes in waves. They should teach this again in schools. I think the overall thing to keep in mind is that in high stress moments you will not rise to the occasion, but you will sink to your level of training. Like Mike Tyson said, everyone hath a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Such good advice in threads like these, where everyone gives complex advice like, if someone throws a knife at you, look at the knife to see if it's carbon steel. If it is, a well-placed strike with a nearby rock, must contain quartz, will shatter it in midair. Posted before but relevant here. If you see someone wearing a motorcycle helmet have an accident, do not pull their helmet off for any reason. By all means, loosen the chin strap, but leave the helmet on and let the paramedics or doctors deal with it. You don't know what that helmet is holding together. Same thing with children in car seats. If you're in an accident, do not take children out of their car seat, no matter how much they're crying. If you think you're being followed, turn right 4 times. Since you'll get to the same place, they shouldn't be following you anymore. If they do, you might be in trouble. Since it's a common warning that you shouldn't go home when you think someone is following you, the smartest is to go to a police station. If someone is beating you and you can't resist, the best is to lie on the ground and cover your head. This is usually known because it obviously protects the most important place in your body, but it is also important because it will make the aggressor feel guilty and probably leave you. If you ever get lost, the first thing to do is stop moving, sit down, stop freaking out, and think. If you give in to panic and lose your head, you can screw things up so badly for yourself that help will never find you. Remember the rule of 3. Starvation will kill you in 3 weeks. Thirst will kill you in 3 days. Cold will kill you in 3 hours. Lack of oxygen will kill you in 3 minutes. Panic will kill you in 3 seconds. To add on to this, I've heard that spending 3 months alone is enough to drive most people crazy and break their minds, or something. Something I've seen on Reddit before. When getting a new home apartment, get a carbon monoxide detector. They are cheap and can save your life. If you're outside in a lightning storm and your hair starts floating, seek immediate shelter. You're about to be struck by lightning. If immediate, within 15 seconds of movement, shelter is not available, put both your feet together, squat down on the balls of your feet, and grab your ankles. If you're struck, this will give the lightning a direct path down to the ground and hopefully minimize damage. If a known diabetic person faints, gets dizzy, give them something sugary immediately. If they got sick because of high sugar levels, hypoglycemia, the repercussions of increasing their sugar won't be as terrible as the damage caused if no action is taken. Giving that little amount of sugar, if they fainted due to a hypoglycemic episode, can be life-saving. Kids don't float. For a number of reasons, kids aren't as buoyant as adults. Kids should always wear a life vest when in a boat of any sort, as well as when playing around streams, ponds, lakes, oceans, etc. A small child can drown in no time. In many places there are laws requiring kids to wear life vests in boats. Where I live, vests are also required at public recreation areas. Fire departments even have freeloaners. Those inflatable armband flow-eyes wings aren't sufficient. They can easily slip off or the KD will take them off. They can pop. They also give adults a false sense of safety and not watch the kids closely enough. And, don't forget that a drowning kid may be perfectly silent. No thrashing around or crying out. Just quietly not breathing. Never take your eyes off a small child in the water. Period. Never use water wings. Not only are they insufficient for life saving, they hinder learning the proper motion to swimming. If you go hiking, always tell someone where you are going and when you should be back. When you arrive, leave note on your dashboard that says where you are going and expected time back. If you realize that you are lost and can't reasonably find your way back to a trail, stay put. It is common to watch survival shows where they say follow a river or a fence so that you find people, but this often ends up in death. Common search techniques benefit more from you not moving, so they only have check each area once. Putting the note on the dashboard will make you an easy target for theft. Instead, put it in the car somewhere not visible. If the person you notified of your trip contacts the authorities, they will go into your car to look for clues on your whereabouts. How to use a EpiPen. It's for when someone is having a severe allergic reaction. Super easy and most models are the same. Take pen, auto-injecting syringe, out of tube. Then take the blue safety cap off the non-injecting end. Stab with a swinging motion the orange needle end firmly into the affected person's outer thigh. You won't see a needle, it pops out when the orange end is depressed. There is no need to remove basic cloth's pants first. You will hear and feel a click pop. Hold it there for a few seconds. Call your emergency response number if someone hasn't already. I've also heard it as blue to the sky, orange to the thigh. My mom has serious allergies, so that's what I was told as a kid. For the love of God, if someone is having a seizure, do not put a spoon or any other object in their mouth to prevent them swallowing their tongue. Don't be a polite victim. You're probably a nice person and want to behave within society. But if you're being mugged, it's because the bad guy doesn't care about kindness, nor does he deserve yours. Shout, run. Make sure everyone around you know what's happening. Say out loud what you think the mugger intentions are. Don't be afraid of making the mugger uncomfortable. That's the point. Once there's at least one person aware of the situation, that's not you nor the mugger, of course, freaking run. FAST, which is a way to identify if you or someone else is having a stroke. Facial drooping, a section of the face, usually only on one side, that is drooping and hard to move. This can be recognized by a crooked smile. ARM weakness, the inability to raise one's arm fully. Speech difficulties, an inability or difficulty to understand or produce speech. TIME. If any of the symptoms above are showing, time is of the essence. Call the emergency services or go to the hospital. I think I'll remember this for a long time, mainly because the NHS had a big campaign to make people more aware of this a few years ago. If you get an infection in your arms or legs and it is hot to the touch or streaking, take a picture and go to urgent care or the ER. Skin infections can cause loss of limb or your life if they go unchecked. I got cellulitis in my arm and went to the doctor, got meds and they took a sample to culture. The next day I went to the ER and the doctor was concerned until I showed him photos from 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, 12 hours and 24 hours ago. They fast tracked me and got me into a room and on IV antibiotics ASAP, which saved my arm. The tone of the doctor changed from mild concern to near panic when he saw the photos and how quickly the infection had spread. From the time I entered the ER to the time I made it to the room, my arm swelled up and the red streaks had spread even faster. If you ever need to break your car window, all headrest attach and the metal ends are meant to be used to break the glass. Helpful if you are in a sinking car. Not all headrests attach. In newer vehicles it's becoming less likely due to active head restraint technology. Better to have a combo seatbelt cutter and window breaker stored within reach of the driver. This is for driving on snowy or icy roads. If you ever start skidding, do not brake. That will only lock the tires and frick you harder. What you need to do is take your feet off the pedals and steer with the skid until the tires find grip again. To add to this, BC people in my town drive like there's a goddamn foot of snow on the ground when it's just an inch. 4-wheel drive gives you exactly zero ability to stop any faster. Don't tailgate people, leave following distance and don't drive 60 miles per hour in the snow. If it's brown, lie down. If it's black, fight back. If it's white, you're fricked. For bear encounters, I've met so many casual hikers in bear country with no idea there's bears in the same woods as them. If it's white, good night. Realize that your family medical history is your medical future. Check your blood pressure and maintain it using all means available to at or below 120/80, unless otherwise directed by a doctor. Former candidate for stroke, now happily 117/78. Carry a basic first aid or emergency kit in your car on your person, work, home. Everyone laughs at me for this. I have a kit I added a whole bunch to. Mylar, little snacks, etc. Not just for doomsday prep, but imagine you get stranded in a storm or snow, or like a comment above mentions a dessert. Having some water, food, Mylar blankets, and some others could very well save your life until you can be rescued. Not only this, but my work first aid kit sucks. Legit. Some tiny band-aids and a few alcohol wipes. I've gotten bad wounds that weren't hospital go home worthy but would have been a B to go the rest of the shift without a bandage. My little sister had a bad bug bite. They weren't laughing when I had sting relief. My co-worker forgot her lunch. I gave her one of the bars, a fruit snack, and shared some of my lunch. What are some psychological life hacks you can do to give you an advantage in situations? I learned this on here a few years ago. For anyone in customer service, or works for many different situations, but CS is a big one. Put a mirror behind you at the counter. This way angry customers who approach you will have to see themselves in the mirror behind you, and the chances of them behaving irrationally lower significantly. No one wants to see themselves act like a dickhead. If you're in a group meeting and you suspect that someone in there might come after you about something, sit right next to them. They were hoping that the group would provide some sort of herd defense, but if you're right next to them it can't be anything other than personal. This tends to make them back off, or at least substantially temper what they say. Source: had a job with a huge target painted on my back for years. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. If you ask someone a question and they only partially answer, just wait. If you stay silent and keep eye contact, they will usually continue talking. If you really want something from someone, frame it as an offer rather than a request. When Teddy Roosevelt was running for president, his campaign printed out 3 million leaflets with a picture of Teddy and a copy of a campaign speech. The campaign then realized that they didn't have the rights to the photo. Instead of explaining the situation to the photographer, which would have given him leverage to ask for a lot of money, the campaign made an offer that they would use the picture, giving the photographer lots of publicity if the studio paid them $250. The studio paid the money. This is used quite often against young artists, and it sadly works with many of them. Late to the party, blew it. If you're playing beer pong and your opponent is playing like he sold his soul to the devil, all you have to do is ask what he is doing to with his opposite throwing hand. Dang bro, you're playing hella good. What are you doing with your left hand when you shoot? This will make him conscious of his left hand and he will start messing up almost every time. Drink well, my friends. This is a great strategy that works for pretty much all types of sports. When your opponent is flowing, the trick is to get them out of their body and back into their head by asking them about their technique or their process. When you first meet people, try to notice their eye color while also smiling at them. It might be because you look for a second or two longer, but all I can tell you is that people really respond to it. Every one of these, that's pretty good. I keep imaging a socially awkward Reddit user just completely freaking it up. In sales, though I guess it could be applied in other ways, once you make the sales pitch, don't say anything else. My boss at an old job was training me and just giving me pointers. I was working at a gym trying to sell memberships. He told me that once I got all the small talk out of the way and presented the prices, that the first person to talk will lose. It didn't seem like a big deal, but it actually worked. Often there were long periods of awkward silence as the person tried to come up with some excuse, but usually they bought. It was quite impressive actually. Chew gum when you're approaching a situation that would make you nervous, like public speaking or bungee jumping. I can't remember where I heard it, but apparently if we are eating something and our brains trip, and it reasons I would not be eating if I were danger. So I'm not in danger. Has helped calm me a few times. I used to debate with a sandwich in high school. Well, not with an actual sandwich. I'd bring it for eating. Foot in the door phenomenon. People are more likely to agree to do a task for you if you ask them to do something simpler first. Gradual commitment is a crazy thing. I've seen it happen and there is nothing you can do. When I worked in retail, I had a tendency to get real curt with rude customers. When I realized I was just taking the bait, I decided to be super nice even when they would get openly hostile. Some of them would get even crazier and they looked like tools. Kill them with kindness. Legit. If you get yourself to be really happy and excited to see other people, they will react the same to you. It doesn't always happen the first time, but it will definitely happen next time. The man's best friend effect. When you're studying, learning something new, teach a friend how about it. Let them ask questions. If you're able to teach something well, you understand it. Promise yourself you'll never talk crap about other people, even when the people around you are talking crap. Even when you agree with the crap they're saying, you don't have to make a big deal of it, just don't partake in it. Once people get the idea you're not into saying mean crap about other people behind their backs, the amount of crap they talk around you will decrease. It isn't fun to talk crap unless everybody is talking crap. Your decision to stop talking crap and their eventual reaction to you not reciprocating the crap talking will positively affect both of you, as well as your relationship. I don't know. For me, since I made this change in how I interact with people, the amount and quality of my friendships has grown. People will trust you more if they haven't listened to you gossip about other people. You will be seen as a more positive person than other friends who do talk crap. The gap gossiping used to fill will be replaced with way more interesting and or intimate conversation too. IDK, just stop talking crap and be kind. Not to mention said crap talkers are waiting to talk crap about you when you leave, so give them no firewood. For interviews, I recommend altering your psychological state beforehand. Tell yourself, I've known these people all my life. We're old friends catching up. I can't wait to see them. Visualize the experience. Shaking hands, making eye contact, having conversation. What things can you not to wait to tell them? Hold an open pose. Stand with your legs apart, hands on your hips, and shoulders back while doing this and smile. This may sound cliche, but you are in charge of your own psychological state and the power of suggestion is strong. For interviews, I recommend altering your psychological state beforehand. Righto, pop some acid before my next interview. Got it? People are extraordinarily aware of their sense of touch. If someone, a member of the opposite sex, accidentally rests their knee on yours, let's say, they know it's there. It's more powerful if you do it on purpose, but at the same time it has the potential to be weird. Putting your hand on a girl's shoulder is sometimes really hot for her or kinda weird. Either way you'll live, but one way you'll probably get something good and the other way, you weren't getting anywhere anyway. People will remember not what you said but how you made them feel. Also, most people like talking about themselves, so ask lots of questions about them. A Navy lifer I worked with taught me the see one, do one, teach one method. The last step is the most vital step for your comprehension. If you are taught a new task at work, most people learn to do the task and then perform the task. If you find another employee to teach what you just learned, you will comprehend the concept better and retain the info for much longer. Whenever I train a new associate at work, I ask them to go show another coworker how to do the task they just learned. Magic. When a group of people laugh, people will instinctively look at the person they feel closest to in that group. Read. Wanna know who wants to bone who? Look at who they look at when everyone laughs. If someone else knew this trick and looked at you to see who you were looking at and vice versa, you would both think you liked each other. I always try to figure out everyone's motivations for what they are doing. Are they trying to take advantage or are they genuinely trying to help someone? In business situations, who stands to profit? Always follow the motivations and always know who profits. By knowing this, you can protect yourself from being taken advantage of. If you find someone being altruistic, you know who to befriend. The best one I ever heard was, apparently, if you have a warm hand when you shake somebody's hand, you immediately become a more desirable person to get along with. Lesson: warm your hand in your pants before shaking hands with someone. I work with mentally disabled children and have found it highly beneficial to describe their capacities in such a way that I indirectly describe their limitations, as opposed to the reverse. In real life terms, avoid negative words when pitching something unfavorable to an audience that you want to receive it well. If you can do it in writing, all the better, because you get to pick out your words carefully. Also focus the manner by which you intend to fix things, rather than the problems. Johnny can't even speak in phrases, and only turns his head to you when you say his name, but doesn't make eye contact. He won't sit in a chair for more than a minute unless you repeatedly tell him to. Nope. Try again. Johnny uses words to communicate, so the next step is to strengthen his skills up to the level of 2-word phrases. He responds to his name by turning, so we're going to work on his ability to maintain eye contact. Johnny is able to remain seated for longer than 1 minute if given repeated prompting. Which would you rather hear about your kid? This also applies to other types of work. Use it to present anything negative. Works magnificently. Thank you. This really opened my eyes. I really hope I can learn to do this effectively. Becoming a good and confident teacher and speaker as a shy and low confidence person is my ultimate goal. Ugh. I bet my sentence didn't even make sense. My personal favorite is when people are angry at me. If I stay calm it'll get them even angrier and be ashamed about it after. A calm whimsic at. False attribution of arousal. When you take somebody out on a first date, take them somewhere exciting that will get their heart beating. For example, roller coaster or horror film. This gets their adrenaline up. It makes them think they enjoy spending time with you rather than the activity. If they enjoy those activities, otherwise, it makes them think that you cause nausea or nightmares. I remember the last time this thread showed up. Someone posted that if you ask someone to do you a small favor, cognitive dissonance will make them believe that because they did that favor, they therefore must like you. After all, why would they help someone they disliked? I don't have a source unfortunately, but I believe the original comment did if anyone can find the previous thread. I think Ben Franklin said this originally and it's right on the money. The moment your alarm wakes you up, immediately react by sitting up, pump your fists and shout yep. Hit snooze. You know how a joke ceases to be funny when you have to repeat it? Well, use it to your benefit. If that butthole in the group is making jokes at your expense, act like you can't hear him and ask him to repeat it like 3 times. By the time he says it a 3rd or 4th time, no one's laughing. The rest of these are defenses. I like this one. It's a weapon. I cannot take credit for this. I remember reading this from another Reddit post. The key to confidence is walking into a room and assuming everyone already likes you. Prison is going to be great. Always give your kid a choice that makes them think they are in control. For instance, when I want him to put his shoes on, I will say, "Do you want to put your Star Wars shoes on or your shark shoes on?" Make it a practice to get rid of filler words and phrases such as like, you know, etc. Instead use short pauses to gather your thoughts before speaking, though avoid Shatner-style pauses. Using filler words keys whoever you're talking to that you are thinking about what you're saying. Leaving them out makes these thinking spots less noticeable, since you aren't essentially announcing to the world that you are thinking, and makes you seem more sure of yourself. Speaking slowly allows one to figure out the end of the sentence. It's one of the most consistent pieces of advice I give and coach in competitive speech. Pay attention to people's feet. If you approach 2 people in the middle of a conversation, and they only turn their torsos and not their feet, they don't want you to join in the conversation. Similarly, if you are in a conversation with a co-worker who you think is paying attention to you and their torso is turned towards you but their feet are facing in another direction, they want the conversation to end. You should check out Carol Kinsey Goman's research on these types of things in the workplace. Refer to people you've just met by their name. People loving being referred to by their name, and it will establish a sense of trust and friendship right away. Say your friend introduced you to Peter. After 5 minutes he decides to leave. Don't just say, bye, but instead say bye Peter. I hope people really pay attention to the you've just met part. I work in an office, surrounded by mediocre managers who consider tips like these more important than actual substance, and it's like some kind of weird social experiment. We've sat next to each other for 5 years, mother, and when you look at me, I know you know who I am. Plan something every Wednesday that you can look forward to. Everyone looks forward to the weekend, but that always seems like a long ways away when you are getting up Monday. If you plan something small to do, like treating yourself to some frozen yogurt or setting up a movie date, you will look forward to that at the beginning of the week. Then by the time it's over, half the week has gone by and you are that much closer to the weekend. The physical effects of stress, increased breathing rate, heart rate mirror identically the physical effects of courage. So when you're feeling stress from any situation, immediately reframe it. Your body is getting ready to do courage. It's not feeling stress. This has been posted before, but if you want to stare at someone unashamedly, look directly past them and wait for them to try and meet your eyes. When they fail to do that, they'll look around, usually nervously for a second, and won't look at you again for some time. This is your chance to straight up stare at this person for at least 45 seconds. After a person breaks up with someone, they are at their most vulnerable state for manipulation because of the flood of emotions. This could be used for the good or evil purposes. When my buddy broke up with his manipulative girlfriend, I made sure he had a good day, but I should have manipulated him. This sounds a bit silly, but if you're asking for a favor, always use the word because. I remember reading about a study done at a university where they used every imaginable combination of words to ask if they could cut in line for the photocopier, and they found that using the word because short-circuited people's brains into believing that there's a reason for it, even if they said something stupid like, "Could I please cut in line? Because I need to make some copies." When you find yourself in a situation where you're forced to do a job you don't care about, instead of thinking of the job as something you're doing while you wait for your one true passion, just forget about what it means to you and think instead about doing it well. Making sandwiches to pay the bills? Make really good sandwiches and be friendly. Doing scut work for your co-workers since you're the lowest on the totem pole? Do really good scut work. Sweeping floors? Make your floors the cleanest. If you get your ego out of the way, you'll realize that there's a lot of joy to be found in doing anything well, with passion, integrity, and care for the people who you're serving, and the people around you will recognize you as a passionate, serious, caring person, even if what you're doing isn't what you're truly passionate about. Perhaps more importantly, it will create the habit of excellence. You don't develop that habit by slacking your whole life and then suddenly being awesome once you reach an imaginary plateau. If you want to build rapport or gain someone's trust quickly, match their body posture and position. If someone is sitting with her legs crossed, cross your legs. If they're leaning away from you, lean away from them. If they're leaning towards you, lean towards them. Mirroring and matching body position is a subconscious way to tell if someone trusts you or is comfortable with you. If you're sitting with your arms crossed and you notice someone else is sitting with her arms crossed, that is a good indicator that you have successfully building rapport with that person. You can use this in any situation where you need to gain somebody's trust quickly. Matching somebody else's body posture will psychologically signal to them that they can be comfortable around you. This can benefit you in any job situation or any interviewing situation, or any situation where you need to gain a person's trust quickly. Did I mention it builds trust quickly? If you and a co-worker are slacking off just talking to each other and your supervisor comes up and starts saying "what the heck are you doing" or blaming your group for something, just look at one of your co-workers and don't make eye contact with your boss. Your co-worker will likely be looking at your boss, and when your boss sees you looking at the co-worker, the anger will be directed at them and not you. It works almost every time. A guy I worked with used to be the laziest and always started screwing around but never got in trouble. He told me his secret and I have used it successfully ever since. You are in control of your emotions and thoughts. Try replacing some immediate responses. Tell yourself you're happy about something, or you're excited. Eventually your brain will end up believing it. That's the same for being down, and that's why you should never try to diagnose yourself. Saying you're depressed or have social anxiety would end up with you being more anxious and more depressed. You won't notice it at first, but over a few months it will have a pretty noticeable effect on your personality. Calmly, you are in control of your emotions and thoughts. Don't think of an elephant. Whatever you do, do not think of an elephant. If you're into psychological hacks, then you must read Get Anyone to Do Anything, also on iTunes audiobooks. It's a fascinating, easy to understand book written by a psychologist. The hacks are divided up into chapters. How to catch someone out on a lie, for example. Brilliant technique. I gave this to an old manager I used to work with. He was having problems with a board member that hated him and wouldn't agree with any of his suggestions regardless of how good they were. After applying techniques in the book, that all changed. I also used it to get a date with a woman who I considered way out of my league. It worked, I'm ashamed to say. If you are angry at the person in front of you driving like a grandmother, pretend it is your grandmother. It will significantly reduce your road rage and increase my fear of a zombie apocalypse due to there being a dead person driving. Be really nice and courteous to gardeners, cleaners, garbage men, etc. Be sincere about it. Not only do you surround yourself with people who are happier than they'd otherwise be, you generally always get better service. When you feel nervous about some type of job performance, realize that you'll be dead someday. Internalize it. Let it sink in. For me, This helps me realize that what I am about to take on ain't all that big of a deal. Do not try this if you're a surgeon. You don't have to, you get to. Stand up straight, no slouching, hands out of pockets, and head held up high. It's not just a cliche, you literally feel better and people around you feel more confident in you. Not always a must, but try to dress well for important occasions, including interviews. If you look good, you feel good, and if you feel good, you'll do good. In a negotiation setting, always start by anchoring, meaning start on a more radical extreme end of what you expect to get. That way, you and the other side can work to that result, rather than you locking yourself out of it. Avoid saying I think and I believe unless absolutely necessary. These are phrases that do not evoke confidence and will literally do you no good. When playing a game of cards with casual players, mutter to yourself the exact opposite of what you want to happen. So if you want your opponent to fold, then mutter, please don't fold, please don't fold. An overwhelming amount of times, the opponent will fall for the bait. When feeling anxious, clean up your house apartment. You will feel happier and more accomplished than before. From an academic standpoint, this is mostly just armchair psychology, but from a real-world standpoint, these have all worked very well in my personal and professional lives. 4 is really cool to know, however I feel 5 is an easily readable bluff. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.